This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Bill Callahan Fan Club president, Jake Bakoven.
I love Billy C.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach.
Hold up.
We're back on a Tuesday. It's On the Block with Strick and Bach, and it's the ticket water cooler segment here with Big Sky for an hour until Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, joins us. Plenty to talk about today, and a few guests as well. 325 just around the corner. Brian Munson will join us, and we can kind of talk about all the latest additions to the Husker football team. It's been a lot over this weekend, and some additions, some subtractions. So we'll catch up on all of that. Also, Chris Basson of the Lincoln Journal Star will join us at 4:25 to kind of cover the Nebraska basketball team, which is something we'll start off with here pretty soon too. But as far as that open goes, it is at one point I did say that I love Billy C. Of course, that's somewhat mocking. If you remember Joe Daly, the quarterback at the time, saying that he supported Billy C., which was his head coach. And so at the time, you probably don't want to call your head coach Billy C. That's not a very endearing way to name them. But obviously, soon after that, Joe Daly was gone. But still, in my heart and in my memory, I'll always love Billy C., and I'll always love Joe Daly referencing that. I wanted to ask you, Big Sky, because you're a little bit younger. You didn't really go through the Billy C. era. If I remember correctly, you just kind of it was kind of 2009 was more when you really started to jump in.
It would have been
football.
It would have been year one Pelini in the Gator Bowl.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So as a somebody that didn't really live through the Billy C. era, it's kind of funny because and even with Zach Taylor, there's been kind of debates about it on Twitter, is that, Zach Taylor doesn't seem to get as much of the Husker love as he probably should. And maybe it's just because it reminds folks of the Bill Callahan era. Since Bill Callahan came and wrecked the program, as people would say or get frustrated about, certainly never really paid too much attention to the details, the walk-on program, the kind of stuff that we felt made Nebraska special. He kind of wanted to change it and make it his own. But now since then, obviously Mike Riley's had a worse tenure. Scott Frost has had a worse tenure. As you look back on the Billy C. tenure, not having lived through it and just hearing about it, do you still kind of have the same vitriol, the same type of thoughts as many of the Huskers that just can't stand? It's almost a curse word to say Bill Callahan in this state.
I actually feel a bit more of a feeling of nostalgia when I think back about Billy C., because that would have been the time that I started paying attention and actually can name some of the players. I believe Joe Gans was a quarterback while Bill Callahan was here. Nate Swift was a wide receiver while Callahan was here. And those are the two of the biggest names that I remember from just like starting to pay attention to the Huskers. The first NCAA football game I played significantly, those two guys were the best players on Nebraska. And there was one route you could run with Nate Swift that he would catch every time for 25 yards. It was automatic. And so Joe Gans and Nate Swift were two guys that I always come to mind when I think of Husker football. And then I also like to read about the absolute insane things that happened while Bill Callahan was here, like the Josh Freeman debacle.
Oh, yeah.
That's incredibly entertaining. And it's those kinds of things that I just discovered randomly during my free period in high school when I would look up Nebraska football and get way too into recruiting. So I don't have any vitriol for that era or Bill Callahan. I just know it was not good, and the Huskers were, not as successful as we wanted to be at the time. So I'm not saying bring him back, absolutely not. But I don't look back on it with any hard feelings or hate.
It's just interesting because you wonder if someday, I don't think he's probably ever been back in the state as soon as he was let go here. I don't know if he ever would be. I mean, you usually kind of time heals all wounds is kind of the thought there. And I've seen them kind of bring back guys that maybe had their ups and downs at Nebraska or whoever it may, like a Jamal Lord or something. And the crowd goes wild and appreciates him. Well, at the time, there were people with their different opinions about him. I just don't know if he could do that with Bill Callahan. I think if you introduced Bill Callahan on the sideline of a Nebraska game, I don't know if you'd hear an overwhelming cheer for support or maybe some boos, because some Husker fans will probably still, when you say what went wrong, and kind of even what went wrong with the Scott Frost era, right? It obviously has nothing to do with Bill Callahan, but that was still the start of the downfill. That was the first move of Nebraska, maybe the Solich firing, but the hiring of Callahan right after that. The first move that made Nebraska eventually feel less special than it was as the Blue Blood, one of the top teams in college football.
Was the Ricky Williams Texas beatdown under Callahan or Solich?
That would have been under Solich, because Ricky Williams was still back in,
did
like,
K-State come in and beat us down when Callahan was here?
That was Solich as well.
Okay.
I think that he actually did pretty well against K-State. I don't know if he remembered if he won every year, but the big one with him was obviously Sue being able to tackle Josh Freeman. Was kind of cool, specifically Sue or whoever it was. It was payback for Josh Freeman, who he did, like you mentioned, called a prima donna after he decided to leave Nebraska's recruiting class and go to Kansas State. He just had some fun. He would, they had a close game with Oklahoma, where he called, I think their fans, because they might have been throwing something at Husker players or something, he called them bleeping hillbillies. So, he did the throat gesture in that game as well. I think I'd have to remember, was that at the officials or something like that? But altogether, somewhat entertaining, while having obviously 4 seasons here, only 2 of them losing seasons. And that 2007 team, I'll always contend, he just lost them, because they had a lot of talent on that 2007 team. Obviously, a lot of people would talk about afterwards, the teams that he recruited that set up Bo early there, the 2008, 2009. But even though, kind of the senior talent there, the Marlon Luckies, the Maurice Purifies, they had a lot of talent there. They just kind of lost it. Lost the whole team, and it was obviously his way out the door. But when you look back at his tenure at Nebraska, he did win the North once. They did finish 24th in the polls in 2005, the year that he didn't. So he kind of had 2 pretty successful seasons, especially compared to Riley and to Frost. Obviously now Riley did have the 1 year as well where they won 9 games and jumped into the top 10 or whatever. But I don't know. I think as time moves on, you just look at that Callahan era and think it was a little bit better than some of the other eras that have followed. But of course, he took over. He took it over when it was supposed to be handed to him as a top 15 type of program. And so it kind of started the downfall. And he went from an option offense to a West Coast offense, which was always going to be difficult. And then a lot of people would argue that his offense wasn't the problem in the end, and that if he didn't stick with his defensive coordinator there, Kevin Cosgrove, they might have had something brewing. But obviously at the time, it was not okay to go 500 at Nebraska. It was far worse to miss a bowl game. They did that in the first season. That was kind of seen and forgiven. But by the time 2007 rolled around, you just could not lose that many games. And then Bo Pelini kind of took it from that and it extended it, right, for 7 years, where you're going to win 9+ games. We just kind of felt like Callahan was the worst hire. How could you possibly hire somebody that was going to go 5-6 or 5-7 at Nebraska? That's impossible. We had radio hosts going, my mom could win 9 games at Nebraska as the head coach. And obviously since then, it's proven to be a little bit more difficult.
Well, I think the biggest thing that I take away from reading about the Bill Callahan era is the number of draft picks that he was able to produce as the head coach and recruit into Nebraska. I think it was Pelini's first year, all Callahan recruits was about six draft picks, and I don't think I've ever experienced that as successful draft for the Huskers. And at this point, it's kind of will a Husker get drafted in the draft period? And so I think he was really good at developing guys into pro prospects, and maybe not so good at coaching a college football team.
He was sure as heck good at recruiting, but yeah, he kind of just lost that team, and obviously didn't have much to do with the defense. And then the other side of it is, if a guy doesn't move up in the profession, he went from there to being one of the best offensive line coaches in the world in the NFL. So you could argue whether he went up or down or whatever, but as far as head coach, never really got it rolling there. And of course, in Oakland, he took over for John Gruden to begin with. So he had the one Super Bowl year, and then followed that with the 4-12 year when they let him go. So his head coaching has not been the greatest. And then even had a chance with Washington in 2019. Remember, as the offensive line coach, they gave him kind of the interim head coach there too. So that was kind of a fun run there. But obviously, they weren't set up for success. I don't think he's a head coach. I think that at the end of the day, we all kind of figured that out. But certainly one of the better minds as far as the offensive line goes, and just offense overall. It just didn't work out for whatever reason, as most hires don't. But it really flamed out, and I'm just not sure how people will look back on it now that there's been more troubles. For what it's worth, he went 27-22 at Nebraska. Riley went 19-19, and Frost is currently sitting at 15-29. So he's got to win 12 more games to catch up to Callahan, and they've both coached 4 seasons.
Don't talk those numbers, Buck.
So that's pretty tough there. Also today, it should be noted, an asteroid is going to be passing by Earth. This asteroid was discovered in 1994. So we've been waiting a long time for this day, if you're a big fan of this asteroid. But it's apparently the closest an asteroid will come of this size to the Earth for the next 2 centuries, according to NASA projections. You can't see the asteroid from the naked eye, but it might be visible if you have a telescope or something. Are you at all interested in this asteroid?
Well, I don't own a telescope, so I can't go look at it. I'm only interested in astral bodies if I can see them.
Oh, okay. That's fair enough.
I love space, though.
Are you a big space fan?
Yeah, I'll watch space videos. My cat, they always have really colorful pictures that are, galaxy type stuff, galaxy art, and my cat will watch those on the projector screen that I have, and so he'll just like sit there and awe, and it's a way to calm him down. It's been working since he was a kid, so I'm into the space videos. He likes looking at the pictures. It works pretty well.
Do you give him some catnip during that? Maybe that's
no, I do. He is not high.
Okay. But he's just chilling out. Well, that's pretty cool. Do you believe in aliens?
I believe that there are enough. I can't remember what the equation is, but there's an equation out there that says that there's a basically 0% chance that there's not at least life outside of Earth. So I'm going to say that there's life outside of Earth. I don't know if it's green men from Mars, but I would say there's probably microbial life somewhere.
That's what I always think. There's a possibility that the aliens, we're kind of all scared they'll be a higher tech because they can get to us. We're getting pretty good about space travel. Of course, there's a lot of ways to a lot more room to grow there, but I always kind of think perhaps the aliens are idiots. Maybe they won't understand, or maybe, like you said, they're just kind of microscopic and don't have the same potential we do. Maybe we are still the highest form out there, but there could be some other form of life beyond Earth.
I know that there's some missions that they're planning or trying to get done that will look into some of the moons of the bigger planets in the solar system, and it could end up being that we're not the sole bastion of life in our solar system, even, because I believe Titan is I'm gonna get it wrong, but it's Jupiter or Saturn that it's a moon of, and it's got the ingredients for life, so it could be right there in our backyard.
It's kind of odd because some of those planets have like 23 moons.
Yeah,
why did we only get one?
Well, I mean, I could go into why it was formed, because I've watched multiple videos on that as well, but basically
the Big Bang Theory here?
No, another planet, when Earth was still molten, hit Earth, and it shot a bunch of debris out, and then it coalesced into our moon. And that's why our moon is actually so big for the size of planet that we have, because it shouldn't be that big if we were to just catch it as a normal moon would form. And we're not big enough to do rings, and that's how those planets get moons. So we got hit by another planet. It shot a bunch of our material into space, and then it collected.
So our moon is made from Earth?
Yes.
Very cool stuff. What's another one?
You not buy it, Bach?
No, I'm just learning. I'm excited about it. Do you believe in the moon landing? Do you think
yes, I believe in the moon landing.
You do? Well,
we went to the moon not because it was easy, but because it was hard, Bach.
Yeah, but it was a big deal back then, especially battling the USSR to get there first. We could have just staged something at a production studio and said, "Yeah, we definitely made it." Sure.
Yeah, the 2001: A Space Odyssey convinced you of that?
It's a.
Have you seen?
It's a theory that's been out there.
Have you seen the full 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Okay,
I would encourage you to watch it just so you can see the ending, because it makes absolutely no sense. And I've watched the movie to completion twice, and I still have no idea. And read what the ending means, and still don't understand what he was going for with the ending.
Well,
was that Kubrick?
I don't know.
I have no idea what he was going for with that ending. There's like a baby floating in space. Not to spoil it, but there's like a baby floating in space. It's weird.
Oh yeah, that's from like late '60s, right?
Yeah, it predates Star Wars.
Yeah, I believe in Star Wars more. Maybe not.
Well, it was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So who are we to say that it didn't happen?
Yeah, who knows what happened? We're just left here to speculate and believe in what other people tell us is pretty much what the best we can do. I guess the other one that I could ask you about is flat Earth. Any inclination to join Kyrie Irving in some flat Earth discussion?
Dusty, I'm on the same page as you. I am a believer in God as well, so I'm totally on the same page as you. I'm just telling you what I've learned from my space videos.
Creation is always definitely a possibility. Or who knows? Could be a Big Bang. I'm not here to tell you what you believe. I'm just here to ask you and question what you believe, so that you believe in it less. No flat Earth conspiracies from you, though.
Oh, hey, I watched flat Earth videos too. Those are enjoyable.
Yeah.
The math that they use to try and convince themselves is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's always kind of the question is if are there other, because you wonder what you believe beyond the flat Earth, right? Are there other planets that are flat as well? Do other planets just not exist? Is it all a government conspiracy? Where does it end? Where does it stop?
Yeah, I mean, this is getting way out from sports talk, but
well, there's an asteroid here, so we can open it up to all space discussion.
Yeah, but it's not even visible to the naked eye. So
yeah, but
it's a pointless. Does it have a name? I like to hear asteroid names sometimes.
Yeah, 7482.
Oh, it's just a number.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. There was a really, really weird named asteroid last year. It was oblong. It was like a pencil shape, kind of. And it was from outside our solar system.
Ooh.
And it passed closely to the Earth.
How do we know that?
Because they looked at it, and the trail that it was shooting off. They could figure out what was inside the trail, and it wasn't any materials that are abundant enough in our solar system to have made that asteroid.
See, and Milkman says, I'm actually enjoying this conversation. Keep it going. See, DP has a theory that you should not talk about things that you're not an expert in. I actually like people talking about things they're not experts in, just to sound how silly they are. At least you know a little bit about this, but you're not an expert.
Anytime I have a long drive, which is basically every time I go home to Montana, it's space videos.
You're a big space guy.
I love space. It's incredibly interesting. I never took an astronomy class because it never worked in my schedule, but it's always been something that I've been into. My family's in aviation, so
yeah, that's true.
Flight has always been something that I've been into, and my brother for a long time wanted to be an astronaut, so just I guess it runs the fan. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so why wouldn't I like Star Wars?
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan? Oh, yeah, they have the new movie coming out, right? Their series.
It's series, yeah. Close second to Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah. I'm a Salacious Crumb guy myself. You know Salacious?
Yeah, the little creature chilling in the pod in Jabba's palace.
Yeah, that guy. He's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a lot of fun characters there. Have you watched any of the Boba Fett? I from half the people I say think it's great, half the people think it's just awful.
Well, I had about an hour off the clock between high school basketball games on Saturday, so I pulled up Disney Plus on my phone and watched Book of Boba Fett for an hour. And
which side do you land on? You can't think it's okay. It's either awful or pretty good.
I'm reserving judgment until we have the entire first season.
All right.
I'm interested on what's going on with this little biker gang. I don't know how much have you watched.
I haven't watched any of it.
Okay, there's a biker gang in it. There's two biker gangs, but Boba has a little biker gang on his team, and it's interesting. I'm not really sure where they're going with it, but I've enjoyed my time watching it, and I haven't said it's been a waste.
What was the one on the Disney that's kind of done well with, I can't remember his name, Little Yoda. Yeah,
Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. I started like that. It caught my attention, and then I just noticed, and this happens with those series, is they just kind of get into this little dizzy spell for the episode. Whatever they're running up against, it's gonna last for the episode, and it makes it mostly useless to watch episode after episode of individual little problems they have when I'm trying to follow a whole plot line, right? So that's where it lost me. I was just,
it's a space western, Bach. Okay,
I know.
You have to have something to overcome in the episode that ultimately leads to the overarching theme of the entire plot. So their entire thing was trying, their big villain is Moff Gideon, but each episode they have Moff Gideon's henchmen that they have to defeat and get past to get to the big final battle in the 7th or 8th or 6th episode.
Yeah, whatever the end is.
They vary. I know Boba Fett's got 6 episodes. I think The Mandalorian had 8.
Yeah.
But I think it's excellent, and it's honestly my favorite visual property that Star Wars has ever produced.
Yeah, as far as like the I like the kind of I always was a big fan of like the enemies and like the aliens that they could create, and sometimes they would kind of stray away from, especially those early 2000s remakes or whatever, or the prequels. They just kind of strayed away from what the original aliens looked like, and they'd kind of throw all these different robots in there, and it was okay. But I like the ones like Boba Fett and the other one that you were talking about. They kind of pay homage better, I think, to the originals.
Well, those are done. Those are made
in the same time frame, or
well,
whatever.
no, they're made by the guy that was handpicked by George Lucas to carry the torch, basically. And Disney didn't let him have as much control over the movies. He had his hand heavily in the Clone Wars animated series and then the Rebels series afterwards. His name escapes me now too. I was not prepared for Star Wars and space talk today. And then he is now doing The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, and so he was there with George Lucas when he was making the prequels, and so he's been right there with the guy who created Star Wars, who made up all of it. So I think it's the perfect guy to carry it on, and I think he's doing an excellent job, and that's why I think I enjoy The Mandalorian so much.
Yeah, it's cool to see them kind of get back to the roots, and obviously with a lot of those original films, it wasn't expected to be a big hit, and then just really obviously took off for decades and generations of people, and now they're adding a lot onto it. So it's pretty cool. This is a sports.
Yeah, I was
talk
gonna say,
show.
unnamed texter, I thought so as well. That's what I put my headphones on expecting.
This is a sports talk show, but to be honest, we're kind of blowing off some time. I like the first segment usually just to kind of talk about what's going on, and there's an asteroid coming by, so we diverged a little bit from the sports talk, but we'll jump right back to it. If you're a Husker fan kind of wondering about all these additions Nebraska's had over the last couple of days, we got a perfect guy to answer those questions for you. Brian Munson will be joining us here in just a few minutes. In fact, next we'll get to Brian Munson, and we can run down a lot of the questions. Of course, Chuba Purdy being kind of the biggest one, the additions, but of course they also had Anthony Grant, so we're kind of going to could be the future backfield right there. So a lot of questions to go over with Brian Munson. He's up next here on the Ticket Water Cooler on the Block with Strick and Buck.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
I'm Jenny Benson. I taught for 32 years. Educators are used to the challenges of a typical school year, but the last year plus was far from typical. Yet everyone leaned in and found creative ways to adapt, innovate, and persevere. Behind each student were resourceful families and dedicated educators who reached out with open arms of support. Because of all the ways we work together, our students continued to learn, grow, and thrive.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it, John Henry's has a new year, new unit special. When you purchase a select heating and cooling system from John Henry's, we will give you the furnace for free. There are also equipment and LES rebates up to an additional $850. This offer expires February 28th, so don't miss out. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
An incredibly mild Tuesday on the way. We'll top out near 59 with west winds at around 10 to 15. But a strong cold front will move through the area tonight, increasing cloud cover, a low down to 13, and only a high of 17 tomorrow, with a north wind gusting over 20. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations. Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias. You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's been a wild few weeks here in Husker land. Additions from the portal, subtractions from the portal. Lots going on at the quarterback position, the running back position. Of course, the specialists have been taken care of over the last few weeks. Just a lot of goings on and a lot of stuff to try to bounce around and figure out kind of where it lets Nebraska stand. And so we're going to reach out to Brian Munson, a Husker Online, see if we can get a hold of him and talk some Husker football, talk about some of the additions that Nebraska has had. It looks like right now we're having trouble reaching Brian Munson, so we will just continue and hopefully continue to reach out to him and see if we can get him. But he's always very knowledgeable, very plugged in on some of the things that are going on. Of course, for Nebraska, what that has meant lately over the last couple of days, if you haven't been paying attention, it's kind of just started, the whole weekend was just kind of very weird because DeAndre Jackson, it was hard to tell where he stood as far as being part of the fold for Nebraska's running back group moving forward. Of course, he the commitment out of Texas A&M. The last I've seen, he's expecting to be a part of the Huskers, but there was some idea about maybe him not quite qualifying or getting on board at the time. So that one's kind of out there. I was going to ask Brian Munson about that. Of course, Anthony Grant, the big JUCO addition for Nebraska in the portal, one of the top JUCO running backs in the nation, and even labeled as the top JUCO running back in the nation by some sites. So that was a big get over the weekend, kind of making it kind of weird, the DeAndre Jackson situation. And then, of course, yesterday, Chubba Purdy, announced that he was in for Nebraska. Clouds kind of the room at quarterback, but makes it very interesting. And then Javier Martin, Morton, I should say, also committed, which maybe got overshadowed by the Chubba Purdy news. But we do have Brian Munson of Husker Online now joining us on the Honda of Lincoln hotline, 402-464-5685. Brian, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. The only thing that I'm struggling with now is I can't name half the depth chart on Nebraska's football team. It seems like, just because of all these additions that they're having, we need to do a lot of homework, and for that we go to you because we know you've been doing the homework.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's tough to keep up with. It's going to be one of those things I think as we get used to it, we'll see that they build a high school class and a junior college class and a portal class. It's really kind of taken these 2 or 3 multiple streams now to build the roster.
Yeah, and do you believe that there's going to be like some type of restrictions put around this once we kind of go maybe through a few years of it? Or do you think that college football offseason is just going to be year long, which I don't necessarily hate, because it's kind of fun to have this big news jump and in the roster get reloaded and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's got to be so frustrating for head coaches not knowing kind of what their team looks like on a daily basis.
Well, I think I think you just nailed it right there. There's an element here that has to be remembered. They have the roster management that has to be taken care of. And there's the 85 scholarship limit number. There's the adding the 25 newcomers to your roster, plus whatever your backfill is potentially for losing other players to the portal, which I'm not even sure how all that stuff's supposed to kind of come together. So I do believe the NCAA is going to have to get serious about making some sort of an announcement time frame, right? Where you have to make yourself eligible to go into the portal, and then you go into this eligibility state where you're going to sign on the early one or the late one. You know, if you try to do it for the early time frame and it doesn't happen, then continues over into January to where you can get things done by the time you get enrolled. But it's like some of these guys are announcing in November, some of these guys are announcing this weekend. And it's a little bit too chaotic. And I think for the teams that are going all the way into the playoffs, and then they have their roster to kind of think about, how do they go about getting active in the portal if the guys that they're going to lose aren't leaving until the first week in January? Not that many Nebraska fans are going to care too much about that, because they're not going to cry those guys a river, but it's a fact. I mean, how do those guys take care of their roster management just as much as the guys that didn't make a bowl game?
Yeah, that's a good point that I hadn't thought about yet. I've seen Alabama and Georgia both lose, close to 7-8 guys or whatever. And obviously there's slim pickings now a little bit from the portal. Is that, as Nebraska is kind of grabbing these guys out of there, is that how you're reading it? Or has those Alabama or Georgia guys kind of revitalized the portal? And so it's just kind of weird, because the whole situation is just so there's nothing in stone. I mean, if you can grab, like Nebraska did, you grab your quarterback out of the portal, and then you're still interested in another quarterback that you've talked to, because maybe it was just in case they didn't get Thompson, or maybe the plan all around was to get Purdy and Thompson. But it's very odd, because you would think that they would be trying to get their name in the conversation with several different guys and have a backup plan for all these different plans it's just got to be a huge headache.
Yeah, I don't, and imagine with Nebraska, they went through hiring multiple assistant coaches. They have that earlier signing day period where they're trying to put the finishing touches on that class, and then they start turning their attention to the roster and what the new coaches are thinking about the guys that are currently on the roster that they've never even seen before. So now you're just watching film and kind of just, doing your evaluation the best that you can, kind of in your own vacuum. it's a pretty it's not a clean process yet. I guess that's probably the fairest way of kind of saying it. I think that there'll be some announcement dates where deadlines to where you want to get into a certain time frame to make a transfer or make a commitment or any of those kinds of things. I think that stuff's going to have to start to come up, and you'll see an early announcement date and a second announcement date, and everything is to be kind of geared towards January semester, like spring semester. And I think you'll see another one that kind of happens like in that May time frame to kind of get into the June and into the summer. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking. And I really don't know how anybody plans on keeping track of who's on the 85, who's part of the 25. I just think all that stuff now is going to be a lot of fuzzy math.
Well, that and the extra COVID year really makes this whole thing pretty ridiculous. But either way, I mean, I guess they get paid good money to do it. It's just got to be a little bit more of a headache. I did want to ask you about some of the additions Nebraska's been able to add. Of course, Chubba Purdy being kind of the biggest one. The few questions that come to mind there is he there to compete for a starter? And kind of what is this signaling to Logan Smothers?
Yeah, I know it's going to be a crowded room. I mean, until Nate Glantz decided to go to Iowa State, I was sitting there going, gosh, they still had a preferred walkout on to a junior college guy. So yeah, I think Purdy's coming in, with the hopes that he can find himself in the conversation. I mean, I think odds on favorite right now is going to be Thompson, but Purdy's not going up there to just sit behind somebody and kind of let his eyes gloss over for the next 3 years. He wants to put himself in a position to be competing, to be ready to go in a moment's notice. And yeah, I think that there's going to be some significance to that, to the other guys in the room that are already at the position. More than likely a guy like Smothers is going to want to take a look and see how this impacts him, how things go through spring. What does this do to his reps? What does this do to his overall cycles that he gets on a weekly basis? If this was the same offense that they were running last fall, it probably wouldn't be as big of a deal. But now you've got a new offensive coordinator, so things are kind of starting over. So you're just at the same starting point as that guy that's coming in there that wasn't even on campus a week ago. You're at the same starting point as they are. So it's really kind of a starting over moment. And those guys have got to be uber competitive. This is what you really hope you get out of the portal. You don't just look for a way to kind of overhaul a position, maybe get a quick fix, get some really nice usable depth. But you hope a room like a quarterback's room sees two new faces in there, wakes the rest of the guys up that were in the room coming back from last season, and really makes a super competitive environment. Because everybody knows that you really need to have true competition at quarterback for the team to get better, for things to get better at that spot. Otherwise, there's really no way to kind of improve your team 1 week to the next. You've got to have some competition there in that room.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how, and that's something that's kind of been missing for a long time at Nebraska and just across college football. It's kind of hard if you've got a guy in the backup spot and he'll be looking around, but maybe Nebraska can keep those 5 scholarship quarterbacks that they want in the room. The other kind of big story over the weekend was that Anthony Grant committed to Nebraska, and it kind of left a lot of people wondering and kind of some thoughts out there about DeAndre Jackson, if he was still on board for Nebraska. What do you think about Anthony Grant? Is DeAndre Jackson still set to come to Lincoln?
I really love Anthony Grant's film. I remember him from high school a little bit just because he was from Buford, and I think Nebraska fans are very familiar with Buford, Georgia, because of the pipeline that Nebraska had been building to the Peach State, and in particular Buford, and pulling multiple players out of there and into Lincoln. He's a complete package, as a running back. He's got an ability to kind of have that speed to hit a corner. He's got that cut up speed. He's got home run, big play speed. He can catch the football. He can just do all those. And he's a real physical looking dude. Just, like when Irvin walked in last January, it just looked like a guy that had been in the program for a while. That's exactly what you're going to get with Grant. He's going to walk in there and he's going to look a little bit different. He's put together a little bit differently. But with Jackson, I think that this is maybe another hole when it comes to the overall transfer process. I mean, Jackson's issue isn't that he didn't like Nebraska or that Nebraska didn't like him. The issue here is that realistically, he's not academically eligible to even go back to practice at A&M tomorrow. If there was a practice that was happening tomorrow and they were starting the spring semester and said, hey, let's go, get out there, get your pads on, Jackson couldn't participate. So there seems to be kind of a need to figure out the eligibility side to the portal, where a guy may be walking out of a bad situation, which may mean that you can, I don't know, go down and do something in a junior college to kind of get things back right, or stay in school and kind of get things fixed up and then leave in May, which it seems like that would be an option for Jackson. But at this point right now, I mean, there's really not any potential that he would be there in January, at least from what I've been told. And he has to get his academics correctly. And I think that he has the green light to return back to College Station to do that.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. The last guy I wanted to ask you about is Javier Morton, who committed to Nebraska as well. Maybe overshadowed by the Chubba Purdy news, but I was reading your Twitter. It seems like you've got a good read on Morton and what he might bring to the table.
Yeah, Morton is, I talked to him yesterday, and I feel like he does get a little overshadowed. There's a pretty big need to get some guys that can play, boundary cornerback. That's a tough spot. People say, well, what does that mean to be the boundary guy? Well, you're going towards the sideline, away from safety help, outside the numbers, man to man, with nobody over the top. So you're talking Cam Taylor-Britt typically. You're definitely talking like Lamar Jackson. You're Darrelle Revis. This is where the whole Revis Island kind of came from initially, right? So that's the spot where, Morton is being kind of looked at to be a guy to come in and help Nebraska next year. And he saw that, when Coach Fisher, queued up all the tape, Nebraska asked their defensive backs to do multiple things. They roll from nickel to corner. They roll from safety to cornerback. And that's not what Javier is being asked to do or is going to be asked to do, it seems like. It seems like he is being told, you are a corner. That is what you will play here. And they drew some comparisons up to Mike Hughes, who's, obviously played at UCF. I think he's still with the Chiefs. And obviously a guy that Javier's familiar with because he played at Garden City. So that was a great comparison for Nebraska. It really helped them out with getting him there. And I think that he is a guy that gets overlooked, but that's a guy I'd really look forward to really push in the spring for some playing time and to get noticed and get on that depth chart.
Well, that'll be interesting. A lot of these guys, obviously, they're hoping to when you go to the portal, that's what you're looking for. Not as much kind of stash away and project is to get immediate help. So we'll see if they can kind of bring that to the table. Brian, thank you so much for your time today and help us get caught up on the latest happenings from the portal in Huskerland.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, there he goes. Brian Munson of Husker Online. Like I said, a recruiting expert, and the recruiting expert now opens it up to the portal, to the JUCO route, as he was saying. Nebraska's been doing more JUCO recruiting maybe than a lot of different teams that we've seen. I'd like to see them get back to that. Certainly more than they have in the past few years. But this is it. I mean, the writing's on the wall. We know what this season is, and it's got to get turned around quickly. And they're going out trying to identify those guys. And I think they've done a good job of bringing a lot of those guys back in. We got to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're still awaiting, obviously, Eric Strickland. He'll join us at 4, and we'll get into more of this with him. But the Cardinals got destroyed by the Rams last night. The Cardinals have the longest title drought, I believe, in professional sports here in America. So are they the most hapless fan base? I'm a Cardinals fan myself. It certainly felt that way last night. We'll talk about that next here on the Ticket Water Cooler portion of On the Block.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. In basketball over the weekend, it was a dramatic week for city schools. Lincoln North Star lost this weekend, Elkhorn South 64-61 in overtime. Lincoln Southwest would also lose in overtime to Gretna 59-54. Lincoln Pius X rolled past Omaha Bryan 74-38. Sam Hastrader led all scorers with 22. Lincoln Southeast won over Omaha Benson 75-65. Lincoln Northeast lost to Miller North 71-55. They could not slow down Green for Miller North, who would end the night with 28 points, leading all scorers. Lincoln High lost to Millard South 63-53. Norris would fall just short against Crete, losing 57-52 in overtime. In basketball on Monday, Waverly fell to Bennington 66-59. The girls would also lose to Bennington 49-37. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Need to send a message? Send it with cake. Congratulations? Here's a congratulations chocolate rum cake from Beatrice Bakery. Thank you? Say thank you with an amaretto cake. I'm sorry that I accidentally hit your mailbox with my car as I was backing out of the driveway and then continued right into your prized petunias? You say that with a lemon drop cake. Everybody knows that. Beatrice Bakery in downtown Beatrice or online at beatricebakery.com. Here to help you say whatever it is you need to say. Welcome to our world of yum.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it, John Henry's has a new year, new unit special. When you purchase a select heating and cooling system from John Henry's, we will give you the furnace for free. There are also equipment and LES rebates up to an additional $850. This offer expires February 28th, so don't miss out. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
An incredibly mild Tuesday on the way. We'll top out near 59 with west winds at around 10 to 15. But a strong cold front will move through the area tonight, increasing cloud cover, a low down to 13, and only a high of 17 tomorrow, with a north wind gusting over 20. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is the Ticket Water Cooler, wrapping it up here for the Ticket Water Cooler on the Block with Strick and Bach. Eric Strickland set to join us in a few moments from now, but we're wrapping it up with Big Sky here in studio. And I wanted to get to that NFL wildcard game last night. It wasn't much of a game. It was very evident pretty early on that the Rams were going to run away with that one. The Cardinals couldn't get anything going on offense. Just very sad to see and not completely unexpected if you'd been following the Cardinals over the last several weeks or followed Cliff Kingsbury's career at all. I mean, Texas Tech is the same way. With the Cardinals, it's been the same way. Last 6 games or so, they lose most of them. Like every year at Texas Tech, every year with Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury kind of gets it going early on and then can't finish things off. You wonder if the Cardinals will make a move there as well. But overall, it just kind of brings you back to the point, and you might have saw it if you did watch the game last night. The Cardinals actually have the longest drought as far as championships go in professional sports. They did get one, 2 of them actually, but the latest one in 1947 as the Chicago Cardinals. This was the NFL championship, not necessarily a Super Bowl. But so that brings their streak to 75 years. The Cleveland Guardians now won in a World Series in 1948. So they're right behind the Cardinals there. And then there's other teams, obviously the Phoenix Suns or whoever that have been brought up since then that have never won a title. But it's not as long of a streak. So it just kind of makes me wonder, are the Cardinals the most hapless fan base? Because the other part of it is they're not really competing for the titles either. It's not like the Cubs or the Red Sox at points in time where it was, the Buckner pass or, the GOAT or whatever. I mean, there's different things that go on with those franchises where they get close. The Cardinals did have that one Super Bowl where Big Ben found Santonio Holmes in the corner. That was as close as it got, but they're just not usually competing. And so I was watching the game with my wife and I'm trying to convince her, hey, we're Cardinals football fans. I've been a Cardinals football fan my whole life. And she's like, I do not like watching this because they were really struggling. She's like, this is way worse than Nebraska football. At least Nebraska is keeping the game interesting. And I said, yeah, this is Cardinals football. This is pretty much what it is once you get to the playoffs usually. Thank God for Kurt Warner there for a few years. But other than that, it's been pretty tough. And the only thing that I think holds it back as far as them being the most hapless fan base is that there's not they're not a blue blood, so to speak. They're not a team that fans really care too much about outside of the Phoenix area, and even some of the Phoenix fans don't care. Green Bay visited the stadium this past year and took over. Like, if you have a diehard fan base, you can take over Phoenix.
That's not the fan base to complain about because there are Packers fans all over the country,
right?
And it's a very good. They travel well.
I'm just saying the Cardinals are susceptible to opposing fan bases if they want to take over the stadium.
I think the most hapless fan base and the most downtrodden would probably be Minnesota sports. You think about the Timberwolves haven't won a playoff series in 20 plus years now.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Wild have not had a cup victory in at least the last 15 years. Minnesota Vikings never won, and then the Twins I think haven't won since 1980. Was
Yeah,
it?
I think it's been a while for
I
the
remember we
Twins.
talked. Sip and Jake talked on early break about the playoff drought for the Twins. So I think Minnesota's honestly having less success, and it's cold. So you live in Minnesota, and it's cold, and your team stink. At least in Phoenix, you can go. It's warm, and you can go outside in the middle of December and
warm
actually
there.
enjoy your life.
It's too warm. I visited down there because I thought about moving down there for a bit because a friend did. And I spent like 2 days down there, and I was like, I'll never move here. I'm not going to consider this. It's way too hot. Like usually, like around Lincoln, obviously, if you have a pool, like that's cool. Everybody wants to go party at your house. There, if you don't have a pool, what are you doing? Like everybody has a pool, and it's not for fun. It's so that you can come home after work and not feel like you live in hell.
Well, there's also this thing called air conditioning, Bach.
Well, yeah, I know. But seriously, like everybody's got a pool down there, and it's not like, hey, cool, we got a pool. It's like, yeah, you better have a pool. It's awful here.
Not a lot of people have pools up in Minnesota/Montana, so
Yeah.
they have lakes.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is it's not cool. It's not like something you flaunt. It's not like in Lincoln to be like, oh, my house has a pool. Everybody like, that's awesome. There, it's just like you better have a pool.
I'll just since it was started with random facts, I'll wrap up my time on the block with another random fact. Wisconsin, more lakes than Minnesota. So the
land of 1,000 lakes,
yes,
or what is it? 100,000 lakes, whatever it is.
The land of 10,000 lakes.
10,000
Scam.
lakes.
Wisconsin has more.
I don't even know how many lakes. I just know they claim a bunch of lakes. But yeah, that's interesting. Take that, Minnesota.
Yeah.
We feel bad for your sports teams, but you're a liar.
Wisconsin starts with a dub, and that's all they take is dubs.
Well, don't say that too loudly around here. I know you like the Packers, but the Badgers have been taking too many dubs from the Huskers over the last couple of years. We got to take a quick break. It'll be the end of the Ticket Water Cooler segment here on the block. But the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, Eric Strickland is waiting on the other side. That'll be next here on 93.7 The Ticket.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Winter is upon us. Is your home prepared? If your furnace isn't keeping up or you've thought about replacing it, John Henry's has a new year, new unit special. When you purchase a select heating and cooling system from John Henry's, we will give you the furnace for free. There are also equipment and LES rebates up to an additional $850. This offer expires February 28th, so don't miss out. Find out more at jhlincoln.com or give John Henry's a call or text today.
435-5555. I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Nebraska's never been really good, but they've never been this bad. That is very telling about how bad it is right now. Exactly. And it's not, Nebraska, it's always had a little bit of an identity where it was a team that would scrap with you. Sure. This isn't really a scrappy team.
The Doc Sadler, Sadler, they were never very talented, but my gosh, they scrapped. They played defense.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good. Asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great. Already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
An incredibly mild Tuesday on the way. We'll top out near 59 with west winds at around 10 to 15. But a strong cold front will move through the area tonight, increasing cloud cover, a low down to 13, and only a high of 17 tomorrow, with a north wind gusting over 20. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
Opioid pain medication took everything that I had. Nothing mattered more than getting my fix. Knowing that it could have been prevented makes it worse. It just takes one.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Developed by CDC.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and lover of bread, Jake Bockelman.
What? I like bread.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. I am Jake Bachman, Eric Strickland joining us as well as I add him to the stream. And it's a beautiful Tuesday, obviously, outside in Lincoln at least. So interested to hear how the weather is out there and wherever Strick is. Are you back home in Florida?
I'm back home in Florida, man. It's a little chilly today. Oh, shoot. I think we're in the 60s today, but that's pretty good for Lincoln. Still
that's
pretty good.
That's kind of what we're celebrating.
Yeah, it's like 61.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, the wind came through. I was in Texas. It's amazing. Just sometimes I'm like, how schizophrenic the weather can be. It's, I showed up, got there, I walk out. I'm like, yes, this is the perfect weekend to get here. And then it's like, I go into a couple spots. We have, some cigars and some wine. And then you walk out and it's like 40-degree drop. Just crazy.
Yeah.
Like goes from 70 to like 40, like just that quick. So it was amazing, man. And then you start seeing snow flurries. So I was like, what happened?
Oh man.
Yeah, that's how schizophrenic that stuff is there. I mean, I think here it's the thing it's more consistent. It's a slow kind of regression down to, the 60s or whatever. So it doesn't just like, go from 72 to 32 overnight. Yeah. So it's not too bad. You can kind of deal with it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Nebraska, we have no clue what it's going to be like. Like on Friday, it was a huge winter snowstorm, and now it seems to be pretty good, like 50 degrees out. So it's hard to tell what's coming, but we just enjoy it regardless. Well, not really enjoy it if it's snow, but if it gets better, the weather will, even at 45 degrees, it's time to get our flip-flops on, maybe go sun tanning. That's kind of weird how Nebraskans are. Once it gets to the winter, we'll do it. We'll celebrate if it gets above freezing, basically, is what we do. But it also some other news that we talked about in the first hour too. There is an asteroid that's going to be passing by Earth today. It was first discovered in 1994. and it's going to be the closest the asteroid will come for the next 2 centuries. Is the guess is that no other asteroid will be by Earth close as far as how big it is. There are always asteroids flaring by that are smaller. But any interest in space and kind of asteroids and all that stuff, or is that you like to keep your feet grounded?
Well, I mean, I think I like to look up in the air and see if you can see. I love it when the comets come by, and you get a chance to kind of see those types of things. But yeah, for the most part, you watch the movies enough to see what some of the things can be if it happens to kind of find its way into our atmosphere. So I think, are we going to shoot something up to it and try to blow it up? What's the what's the game plan? Do we have a game plan for something like that? So I think that's where my interest goes.
Yeah, start drawing straws, see who's got to stay on the asteroid. That was a good movie. I do wonder that though too. It's like it just feels like there would be something that would come and hit Earth after a while, but I'm not too scientifically knowledgeable about all that stuff. Maybe there's something protecting it, but yeah, I would think something would eventually come and strike Earth at some point. But I guess we're not too worried about it as far as after this one passes, the next couple centuries look pretty good for us. So that's the plan at least.
That's crazy though that they spotted it in like 1994, like I was in college. Like
I know, and they've been waiting all these years for today. Today is the day.
That's crazy. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool what they can do. Obviously with space exploration, but obviously I'm nowhere near knowledgeable. I'd like to go up there. There are people starting to like go and go around the moon or whatever. The kind of the more they're pretty expensive flights to get on there. Would you ever be interested in doing that?
Wow.
Just going to space.
Are you? So you're down with the SpaceX? Flight? You got the meal ticket to go ahead and make that happen.
I think it costs a little bit more money than I have to get on one of those flights, but I'd probably do it if I won some sort of a giveaway or something. I'd be interested.
Yeah. Well, shoot, me personally, I like. I don't even really like to skydive. I think going up that's a little too high. I thought it was pretty intriguing when they had the Red Bull spaceship that kind of just went out of the atmosphere, and that dude jumped out with the spacesuit on.
Oh, that's kinda, right, yeah.
And like at the tip of the atmosphere, and just kind of did his thing down. I wonder what that free fall would be like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they say the free fall is sick. Okay, free fall at 10,000 or whatever. Okay, yeah. But what a free fall at 40 or 60, 70,000. Be like that'd be crazy.
How many flips you could get in there would be pretty fun.
How would you get your bearings? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that part. That would. How do you train for that? That's the part.
I've had a few experiences that have kind of brought me back to earth, or to believe, because I think sometimes we get in this idea that it's modern history. People are taking plane flights all the time. It's not dangerous or any of that stuff, but you're still a human being just up there, and you're not a god. I mean, if you fall from that level, you're obviously going to die. But we've obviously kind of just normalized it. But it's pretty cool and very, very impressive for just the human race. I know that's kind of sounds like I've maybe been smoking something to come up to that conclusion. But I think that's cool. I think if you told somebody 100 years ago all the things that we've been able to do, they'd be quite impressed. In any case, we better get to Husker sports. Some people were texting earlier that we were trailing off a little bit too much, but it is always kind of fun to do that. Oh, I did want to ask you real quick, because you mentioned it. Have you done skydiving before? Because I was just about to do it, and then I had a son, and now I think it's probably not worth the risk anymore.
I think, man, I look at it, I'm like, man, I think I'm too big. Like, because you have to have the guy with you, until you get a certain amount of hours of jumps or whatever. I don't know, however many jumps. And I just I'm a big dude. Like, that's why I don't do like bungee jumping or nothing like that. I'd be scared that I'd break the rope. So I'm too big. So
they haven't tested it out that far yet.
Nah.
Yeah, it's possible. I think that just the older I get, the less I want to do those extreme fun things. But oh well, that's for the younger kids, I suppose. It was a big weekend for Husker football. Anthony Grant was a guy we didn't really get to talk too much about. We were going to Monday, and then of course Chubba Purdy announced, which kind of crowds the quarterback room, kind of got us going off in that discussion. But as far as Anthony Grant goes, he's one of the top JUCO running backs in the nation, and it kind of just leads me to ask you and let us know here on the Side Sutter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. Are you bought in on Anthony Grant coming to Nebraska and adding to that running back room, or have JUCO running backs in the past with decent levels of success, but maybe not that top running back level, kind of lowered your expectation? The Dedrick Mills, the Greg Bells of the past, which had solid careers for what they were, but probably not living up to the number one JUCO running back type of name as far as recruiting sites go. I can even kind of go back to Kenny Wilson in the mid 2000s. I remember him as a top JUCO running back coming in and not really competing outside of a great practice run he had one time. But I don't know if it's just the JUCO running back thing or just the team coming off a 3-9 season overall. There's a lot of skeptics regardless of what Nebraska does and adds, and it looks like it's been a really good offseason. I just had a kind of a hard argument with Nick Sainert here, who does the happy hour, and Big Sky was kind of in the same category, where it's just hard for them to buy into anything because they want to see it on the field now. And I get that, but you're going to have to wait several months for that. I mean, you should, if you like Husker football, you should probably think about Husker football in between those times and try to think whether it's going to pay off or not. But I think a lot of people have just been burned by the 3-9 season, or in Anthony Grant's case, maybe JUCO running backs past.
Yeah, I think that is a possibility of way of thinking. I think you can understand how that you come to those types of realization about the past and what was and what wasn't and so forth and so on. I think also what comes into play is where they played, so forth and so on. What was the level of the competition? I think you can find some good things in the JUCO market. I mean, I think it allows them to continue to play, but I got a chance to watch a little bit of film on him, and I think what I saw was some wonderful traits. I saw some traits that gave me some confidence, regardless of where he stood as a JUCO running back, or what he was able to produce as a JUCO running back, or didn't produce, or what his level of ranking was. And in watching the film, I love the fact that he had great breakaway speed. He wasn't a guy that just was 6'2", 210 pounds that just kind of bulldozes and debos his way into the line. I thought I saw great breakaway speed. I love the way he runs with both patience and power, meaning that he has the ability to initiate some contact. But I love the way that he was able to have some patience. He has a great jump cut. That if you see a hole's not there, he hits a jump cut and he can get through the hole. I like that aspect about him as well. I also like the fact that what he sees, he's a one-cut guy. He sees it and he doesn't wait. If he sees it, he hits it, and that's what Nebraska needs, is a guy that's got great vision, has an ability to make a cut, make somebody miss, but then also gets to the second level pretty quickly. And he does that. He's able to get to the second level. He can either make you miss or he can challenge you with his physicality. So 1,700 yards for him wasn't just they just dominated the competition. You can see that there were some qualities in his runs, and it wasn't always that the lineman just dominated. He just was able to kind of find it, get lost back there, hit the hole, and then boom, he was on his way. Very similar style of offense as well. He seems that he's very happy with Applewhite and the conversations that they had. And I think it's going to give them a great opportunity in there to use him in different ways. I think he's a 3-down back possibility. He can catch balls out of the backfield, also make people he makes quick decisions. I like that part about him. I think it gives him also an advantage over DeAndre Jackson a little bit, the running back out of Texas A&M. I think it gives him a little advantage that he's actually coming in to enroll. He should be coming back pretty soon to get in and get enrolled. Whereas DeAndre Jackson had a little academic issue with some issues that he needed to tighten up, and so he'll probably miss a spring game. Whereas he'll get a chance to get some reps and get some, get in and get those playbooks right and start understanding what it is that they want to require of him. I think it's going to make for a great competition. It's not one that anybody's going to feel that they have the lock on. They're going to just have to compete and bust their tail and see who's going to be the best man in that specific position in that running back room.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race. And like you said, for the spring game, the spring game is going to have some of the most intrigue that it's had for years because there's all these new pieces battling for these different positions. And usually you kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. There's an addition here and there. I was thinking the future altogether with the transfer portal and kind of how things are opening up in NCAA football. The spring games are going to be a little bit more intriguing. But of course, this year, a little bit extra something special there. Anthony Grant, for what it's worth, if you haven't heard too much about him, was the number one JUCO running back, and he was actually had some pretty good success during his time. He was a 2018 recruit, signed with Florida State, had all these different offers: Tennessee, Virginia Tech, Florida State out of high school. But then we had to go the JUCO route. He rushed for 1,700 yards at New Mexico Military Institute. And also won the national championship there, taking down Iowa Western Community College. So first team.
And they have a tough program. Iowa Western has been very tough.
Yeah.
And Nate Glantz, who went to Bellevue West, was their quarterback there, is also going to be got signed a commitment to go to Iowa State. So congratulations to him as well. Kid out of Nebraska.
So, I mean, like you said, it's not like they just kind of opened up for him. I mean, these are guys
they're tough.
Getting offers to go different places and to be in the championships kind of portion of it. Sometimes the lower level community colleges, you might be able to add some numbers on there, but when you're playing the championship level, it's not easy to do. So it's kind of exciting. 5'11", 200 pounds is kind of what he's listed at. And really, again, one of the top JUCO running backs, if not the top JUCO running back in the nation for Nebraska. Of course, joins a running back room that's somewhat crowded. Jacquez Yant had some issues getting on the field here and there, but I think he looked to me like maybe had the most upside. Ramir Johnson kind of took a hold of that job toward the middle half of that season, and then toward the latter half, he still had it, but had some injury issues there. Of course, Gabe Irvin was injured early on, but you expect him to come back and be a central player in that. And then Marquise Stepp will be in for another junior year after starting last year, kind of their bigger back. Of course, he's 6'1", 230. I think altogether, I think you've still been kind of wondering if they have the lead back, right? I think that with the guys that they have, you could put together a pretty good room. But altogether, you're still looking for that lead back. Between Grant and Jacquez Yant, I would probably think are the tops for that. But for me to say that, it's almost kind of opposite of what we've seen, right? Because Gabe Irvin was their first attempt at that coming in as a true freshman last year. If he didn't get injured, he would have started over Ramir Johnson. And then Ramir Johnson was the closest thing to the starting back that was solidified and made differences in the games toward the end of the stretch last year. So that's why, I know we hearken for the days to go back to Rex Burkhead and Roy Halo and Amir Abdul and have that all conference type of back. If they don't have that, I still think they're in one of the best positions in the running back room that they've been in quite some time, just because of so many different options. You just hope that doesn't become a problem in and of itself, where you have so many options. It kind of happened like early on this year where they wanted to find the lead back, but instead they saw it was just kind of who was practicing best that week. And they'd kind of, and you'd get hot and cold, and different guys would get 100 yards one week and then not be seen for several weeks. I don't know if that's the best way to build your running back room either. So with Brian Applewhite, it could be a different approach, and hopefully one of these guys stands above the others.
Well, one of the things that's really important about that is that at least whenever you have to deal so much in the transfer portal, it's good to have some foundational pieces, right, that are returning to you. Some of those foundational pieces in the past have pretty much ridden upon Adrian Martinez really being there. But across the board along those lines, it really wasn't much consistency. And the secondary, I think the secondary was one other area where they were pretty consistent, and I think that's why they did pretty well. I mean, they were able to compete and handle things against some very good receivers, receiving cores out there in the Big Ten. So I thought that was solid. I mean, even when you look at Ohio State and how good they were, I mean, Njigba was just a beast, period, but he had a big game, but I still think they were able to manage it for the most part, right? They were competing, they were there. He just made some great plays at times. So when I look at what Nebraska's trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, one of the pieces or places I look to is what happened in Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State they lost 27 players in the transfer portal prior to Mel Tucker coming on. And then Mel was able to jump in there and take those foundational pieces that were the heart and soul of what Michigan State was, who remained, and then took 19 transfer portal additions and turned that into an 11-2 season. And, dang near got into the top 10 at time and, was a top 25 team to finish out. I'm not saying that that's going to be Nebraska. There's a lot of pieces that still are uncertain. There's a lot of things that are still uncertain. But I think they've acquired some solid foundational pieces. I think their defense is going to be pretty good. It's just some questions there on the defensive line with some of the losses there. But I think for the most part, they've got some solid pieces and some solid foundations, some core guys, and to look to. And with those additions, would be able to draw them into to start a good culture and rebuilding a solid culture there at Nebraska. Hopefully that'll be the case. We'll see.
Yeah, and I always say if you're not good, at least be interesting and be intriguing. And I think that part of that is to have some upside. And I think that they fill out, all those check boxes. They're interesting. I think they have some upside. And it's a lot of it is due to the work that they've done over the last several weeks in the portal. Let's go to the Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685 if you want to add a comment. Adam says, I think Grant is a great ad, but the O-line needs to be good. Could have the best running back in the world, but if they don't have blockers, they're in trouble. And of course, that's always going to be a key problem for this and moving forward. The offensive line was the biggest problem on the team last year.
Let me make a point about that, right? I was just having some conversation with some friends about that, and I was able to reference a running back that was very similar, both in college and in the NFL, and that was Barry Sanders, right? Barry Sanders, both in college and it's sad. Because I would say that, Emmitt Smith would have had a problem if Barry Sanders would have had an Emmitt Smith type of line, because Barry Sanders would have averaged probably 2,000 yards a season with that type of line, right? And he was able to do it from a standpoint of not having a line. So I think it can be done, but you need a certain type of back that if you're not going to have that clearing space, that zone type of line who can – move their feet very well, and they're good at just getting some movement on the front line that creates some space and holes, then you need a back that has great vision, but has the ability to hit whatever holes are there and make something out of it, right? Whether it's 3 yards, 4 yards. But they've got to do better than dang near the 3 yards that they were, pretty much averaging at some points. But I think they have a few of those. I think Ramir Johnson wasn't that because he needed a little bit more room to be able to use and be effective with what he had. I thought Yant did that, and you saw that in some instances. I just think there were some inconsistencies with him in the running back room. I think understanding, whether it be blocking assignments, concepts, or just different things that he had problems with. But I think when they were able to use him at times, you could see there were flashes of it. Even with Yant, I think Grant has some Yant in him with some Ramir Johnson, with a combination of all of that. And you need that type of guy, that Barry Sanders type of guy with mobility. I'm not going to say he's shifty as Barry Sanders by no means, but I am going to say that he has great jump cut abilities and different things to just cause defenses to have to make a decision. Am I going to choose this hole? Am I going to fill this gap? Am I going to do this? And boom, he makes a jump and he's into another. So it's going to require the line to have some form of, it can't be any breakdowns. It's got to be just some form of either creating some space or creating some movement will allow him to be successful.
Well, and I think I think it's consistency too. I think that there are matchups where they can, the special running back can take advantage and kind of go beyond what the offensive line gives them. But it's hard to do that consistency. I mean, we kind of saw that even with Amir. You see that with Ezekiel Elliott sometimes. They can break out for a great game and go beyond and make great moves. But to do that week after week against the better of opponents, it's tough to ask that. So obviously, if you're going to have a great consistent running game, you're going to need that offensive line to come along. And that was something too about Michigan State that probably gets a little bit overlooked just because of how good Kenneth Walker was, is that he kind of flashed to your eyes when you're watching him, and he would make some of those moves to get that extra yardage. But they went from averaging less than 3 yards per carry to having the Doak Walker Award guy walk into the room last year. It's not all just one guy. They had some additions on that offensive line. That offensive line did have to get extremely better, and then Kenneth Walker can elevate it from where it was. But we'll bury that conversation for a little bit, probably get back to it later, certainly definitely throughout the rest of the offseason as we head toward that spring game. But we got to wrap up the Husker basketball loss last night, 78-71 to Indiana. We'll have Chris Baston of the Lincoln Journal-Star join us next as we break that down. That's what's coming up next here on the Block with Strick and Buck on 93.7 The Ticket.
$93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank. A relationship you can count on.
Your MTV First Alert weather tonight. Cloudy skies and cold. Overnight lows 12 above with north winds gusting to 35. Gusty winds much colder again on Wednesday. Partly cloudy. A high of 19. I'm MTV Chief Forecaster Kent Boughton for 93.7 The Ticket.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and the surrounding area, but I'll save you time. High Electric has been serving their customers for 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They're experts in everything electrical, from remodeling to new additions, hot tub installations, electric vehicle chargers or EV chargers, lighting, ceiling fans, and more. High Electric takes jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at highelectric.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more. When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it. We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors. Whether they are in the mountains of New Mexico, the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, the ranches of Oklahoma and Texas, the farmlands of Missouri and Arkansas, or the bayous of Louisiana, we are here for our hometowns. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for when it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back in the future. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are jamming here on the Block with Strick and Bach here on 93.7 The Ticket, as we are excited to talk some Husker basketball. Yes, we are excited. We still love Husker basketball, even though they're struggling a little bit, and a lot of it, I should say, by now.
Husker red till I die, Bach.
That's right. Regardless of what happens on the court, they're now 6-13 overall, 0-8 in conference play. And with that in mind, we bring in Chris Bassett of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Chris, how do you like our introduction there for you?
That was solid, guys. I really appreciate you building me up before you brought me on there.
Really pumping you up for this one. Obviously, it was another kind of the same old story. Nebraska falls short. I guess it's not always the same story. Sometimes Nebraska doesn't play very competitively. They did that again today, this last night against Indiana. I guess one of the biggest questions coming out of that is how did you think Trey McGowan's looked getting back on the court?
Yeah, I thought he looked as good as expected, for missing 15 games in 8 weeks, and gave Nebraska a lot of things it had been missing while he was gone. Gave him some toughness on the defensive end. The offensive game's not there yet, of course, and that's just going to come. There's some rust, and he admitted as much last night, and that'll get better. But he looked pretty good. Played 21 minutes, which is more than maybe a lot of people expected him to play. But he's clearly, if not Nebraska's most important player, one of the 2 or 3 most important players. So yeah, really important for Nebraska to get him back. Now you need to be able to translate that into some wins.
And do you think that his return and his minutes is going to come? It's got kind of got to cut into somebody's minutes. Does it look like, obviously last night it looked like Tominaga's? Do you think that he could return to the starting lineup in Tominaga's spot? I mean, you would think that might be part of the plan, just to get a little bit bigger, or do you think they kind of like the starting lineup they have?
No, I think it's only a matter of time before Trey's back in the starting lineup. They were going to bring him. They've brought him along slow throughout this entire process. You're not going to throw him out there and have him start and play, 25 or 30 minutes the first night out. I really liked how they did it, just kind of easing him in, seeing how he got into the flow of the game, then kind of going the rest of the way based on that. So I think eventually you'll see Trey McGowan's back in the starting lineup. He's too important for this team. He's too important to what Nebraska wants to do, especially on defense. So I think it'll only be a matter of time before we see Trey back in the starting lineup.
Yeah, Chris, it's Eric here. I just wanted to get your perspective on what are some things that you think you would like to see in order to feel good about at least, the season future, the perspectives of what they will be able to do in the upcoming years. Especially with so much expectation for this year. What do you think are some things you would like to see, some areas of improvement?
Yeah, it's funny, Strick. The margins for error are so thin between so many of these teams, and we've seen that with Nebraska. And even last night, a couple shots, a couple 3-pointers go halfway down and pop out. Indiana has a couple that pop out and go in. And that's happened to Nebraska a few times this year. And the Huskers have been on the wrong side of that. I've said, for the last month or so, Nebraska's not all that far off from having 3 conference wins, at least, already, just with the way they've played in some of these games. But, at the end of the day, it just has to be consistent effort. It takes consistent effort night in and night out if you want to compete at a high level. It doesn't matter what conference you're in if you want to do that. And that's been an issue for Nebraska at times this year. It's gotten better, I think, the last couple weeks. I think it's going to get better now with Trey McGowan's back. But if Nebraska keeps expending the effort that's required to play at a high level, to play in a league like the Big Ten, then that gives you something to at least kind of latch onto. Because at the end of the day, Nebraska is what they are at this point. They've played 19 games. We kind of know what this team is. But if you keep giving yourself chances with good effort, eventually you're going to break through for a few wins. So I think that's a good place to start.
One other question before Bach taps in, and I sit on the edge of the ring trying to get back in the game or get back on in the WWC ring. So one of the other things is in my observations, I've been watching them. It just seems like they're playing, 30 minutes in a game or 32 minutes. And, do you find it to be something that a coaching staff can change that dynamic? How do you get a team, just your thoughts? I mean, it's just an opinion of your thoughts on how do you get a team to just really give it all for 40 minutes and just no regression of any parts of their game? Because I think that's where the losses are coming.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Eric. I mean, that's what it is. Nebraska will play 30 minutes or 32 minutes or 36 minutes or 39 minutes. But it's that 1 minute they don't play or the 2 minutes or the 5 minutes or whatever that they don't. So, that's where coaching comes in, right? You've got to be able to keep your guys at that same level for 40 minutes. And whether that's, the psychology of the game, knowing when to get on guys, knowing when to love guys up a little bit. That's probably part of it. Knowing when to get guys maybe out of the game if they're not all the way there. That's part of it. I think there's a lot that goes into that, and it's not an easy answer, especially when you're a team like Nebraska and like we said, a team that just has such a small margin for error. Night in and night out. You think you have to push different buttons different nights, and you have to push different buttons in different areas on different nights. And that makes Fred a tough job for Fred Hoiberg even tougher because you're just not sure where maybe the deficiencies are going to come on certain nights. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Nebraska's played well enough for large stretches in a lot of their games. The key now is figuring out how to get them to do it for 40 minutes. And that's the thing Fred Hoiberg and the staff have to figure out.
And of course, this is not the season anybody envisioned if you're going to have a player be drafted in the first round of the NBA draft. But it's still, as far as the mock drafts I look out there, Bryce McGowan is getting pretty positive reviews. And just watching him play, you can see him grow, kind of get more physical going to the basket. Do you think at this point Bryce is on pace to probably be a one and done?
I think so. I think that was kind of the plan all along. And I think you've now seen him start to adjust to the physicality of the Big Ten. I thought he was really good last night. I think last night was his best game against a Big Ten opponent. He's kind of started to, when you have the gifts and the tools that Bryce McGowan has, it's generally only a matter of time until you figure it out, no matter who you're playing. So it's took him a little bit to kind of figure out the level he needs to play at in the Big Ten, to figure out what he needs to do on both ends of the court to be successful in the Big Ten. And he started to get there. Now, key for him, just like everybody else, like we just talked about, can you do that every night out when you play? Because that's what it is in the NBA too. It's being able to perform every night out on a consistent basis. So that's kind of the next step, I think, for Bryce. He's kind of figured out the physicality part of it and what he needs to do in that part of it. Now it's about the approach and the effort and those kind of intangible things that you have to worry about. And if he takes care of that, then yeah, he'll be a one and done, certainly.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because if Bryce does leave, go ahead and get out of the equation, and certainly he should if he's going to be a first round draft pick. That's some life-changing money and certainly opportunity he's been looking for. But I guess that problem is that kind of puts you back to square one with Nebraska basketball. We're all hoping that they can kind of build, at least the schedule gets a little bit easier at the latter half of the Big Ten schedule. But you just kind of go back to how many of these guys are even going to be here next year if they do build it into something. And that's, it kind of brings you back to the problem that Nebraska basketball has been having, which is just too much player turnover.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what it looks like after the season. There's going to be some guys with some decisions to make. Certainly not just Bryce, but Bryce's brother, I think, is in that category as well. Derek Walker, who's obviously a very important piece, is in that category as well. Some others too. There's going to be the normal attrition that comes with college basketball, just because that's the way the game is nowadays. Players move around a lot, and it doesn't just happen at Nebraska. It happens everywhere. Now it maybe happens with more players at Nebraska than it happens other places, and that kind of speaks to your point. But at the same time, this is how this team is built. If you're able to retain some of the young pieces you have, you're at another solid recruiting class. If you can keep some of those guys around that are maybe kind of on the fence right now, then you have a little bit more continuity, and you're able to kind of move the program forward. But the sport right now, I think, is so unpredictable when it comes to player movement, player retention, things like that you can't really even begin to speculate on it until after the season.
He's Chris Bassett of the Lincoln Journal-Star. Chris, sorry, we kind of started to want to talk a little bit about the future, since the present's kind of difficult to talk about. So maybe just some projecting in the future. But thank you for your talk today on Nebraska basketball.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
All right, there he goes. Chris Bassett of the Lincoln Journal-Star, one of our go-tos for Nebraska basketball. Speaking of basketball, it's time for Shootout with Strick. Give us a call, 402-464-5685 on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. And for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings if you can beat Strick in a shootout. It's not too difficult.
I'm on a roll, baby. I'm on a roll, baby.
He's been winning lately, so you got to kind of bring him off of his high horse here as well. That's what we'll do next year. Give us a call, 402-464-5685 to get in line. That's coming up next year on The Block.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealership, is hosting their annual sprayer clinic at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney, Nebraska, February 2nd and 3rd. Landmark Sprayer Clinic offers expansive equipment and technology training on different models of John Deere and Hagie sprayers. Learn about the newest technology, machine maintenance, spray tip selection, and more. We'll be offering free dicamba certification. Join us February 2nd and 3rd in Kearney. RSVP by calling your local Landmark location or at landmarkimp.com/events.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum. There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more. When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it. we get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors. Whether they are in the mountains of New Mexico, the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, the ranches of Oklahoma and Texas, the farmlands of Missouri and Arkansas, or the bayous of Louisiana, we are here for our hometowns. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard. Aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your MTV First Alert weather tonight. Cloudy skies and cold. Overnight lows 12 above with north winds gusting to 35. Gusty winds much colder again on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high of 19. I'm MTV Chief Forecaster Kent Boughton for 93.7 The Ticket.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for when it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com. It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
It is that time of the day on the block with Strickenbach, a shootout with Strick, where your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. All you have to do is beat a former NBA player in a shootout. It can't be that hard, right? Well, it has been a little bit hard. Strick's been on a winning streak lately, but we'll see if Tom can take him down today. Tom, today's topic is last night's Nebraska-Indiana game. Did you get a chance to watch the game?
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble.
Well, you're in luck because at least the structure of the game is just either or questions until the money ball. So you still have a pretty good chance, 50-50 chance to get a few points here. But we'll start with Strick so you know what number you have to get to. Sound good?
All right.
All right. All right. Here we go. Strick, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Who led the Hoosiers in scoring last night? Trace Jackson Davis or Race Thompson?
Trace Jackson Davis.
That's right. 1 point for you. Who led the Huskers in 3-point field goals last night? Lat Mayen or Keisei Tamanaga?
Lat Mayen.
That's correct. Who led in scoring off the bench for the Hoosiers? Jordan Geronimo or Trey Galloway?
Geronimo.
That's right. Where was Mike Woodson's first NBA head coaching gig? Indiana or Atlanta?
Atlanta.
That's correct. What is Trace Jackson Davis' jersey number? 23. That is correct. That's all 6 points. And wow, that's quite. Let's go with this. If you get all 6 points, you get this.
Boom shakalaka.
Yo,
you are on fire. 6 points.
NBA Jam, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Strick, that's going to be hard to top. But Tom, you're going to have an opportunity at least. You can't miss anything. Okay.
All right, I didn't watch the game, so let's do it.
Also, a reminder, Tom, if you do lose, the winner, then Strick wins for the people, but you can be part of the people. So the third caller actually is going to get get the chicken if Strick does end up winning, and that includes you if you want to. So hang up really quick if you do lose, and you'll have an opportunity to call back and get the chicken anyway.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, we'll start in 3, 2, 1. Who led the Huskers in scoring last night? Alonzo Verge or Bryce McGowens?
Bryce McGowan.
That's correct. Who led the Hoosiers in assists last night? Xavier Johnson or Parker Stewart?
Parker Stewart.
It was actually Xavier Johnson. Who led in scoring off the bench for the Huskers? CJ Wilcher or Trey McGowens?
TJ.
It was actually McGowens. Where was Mike Woodson's last NBA head coaching gig? New York or Detroit?
Detroit.
It was New York. And what is Xavier Johnson's jersey number?
Xavier Johnson?
Yeah, for Indiana.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
22.
Oh, it's actually number 0. So you ended up with just 2 points. That means that Eric Strickland gets another victory. I think at least his third in a row. But hang up now, Tom. Third caller right now will win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings on behalf of Eric Strickland. He's a man of the people. And Tom, you could be one of those people as well. And thank you for playing today. You always can call back at another time and try to win, but it's difficult these days. Eric Strickland knows what he is doing. And you did watch the game and covered it. So maybe that was a little bit unfair as well.
Well, I mean, you still gotta kind of be have some observation in your game. It's the same as when you're playing the game, you got to be able to adjust. Deion Sanders said, you got to be able to know their trends and their watch their feet and it's the little things that you notice about the game, not necessarily the most observant things.
Yeah, and that was pretty impressive. We've been waiting. We haven't had a perfect score yet. Very rarely do we even get through to the money ball, but you got all 6 points there, so made it pretty difficult for Tom. It's going to be difficult for you to top that, but I believe that's at least 3 in a row that you've won now. So
flawless victory.
We'll keep it going, though. We like to give away chicken, and we thanks Buffalo Wings and Rings for being a part of that. I did want to jump to this, too. I saw this, and we haven't been able to confirm whether this is true or not. It's just there's a report out there of a potential Ben Simmons trade that was denied by the 76ers. The Pistons reportedly made a trade offer of Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick to the 76ers. And the 76ers denied that. Given where we are in the Ben Simmons sweepstakes, I mean, that sounds like a pretty good haul. Jeremy Grant's one of the top kind of names floating out there as the trade deadline approaches. And that would I don't know if that's even true because it's quite a haul, but either way, the 76ers apparently weren't interested if it were true.
I would have to look at their obligations on what they have as far as their contract times. I would also look and see if they were going to be what type of free agency they would be bringing with them. So do you feel you have an opportunity to re-sign them? Or if you did, what type of number you would be looking at? Because even though you're unloading the contract that Simmons has, you would have to assess whether or not you have somebody in the whims that are waiting that you feel that has a similar style of play that person does. And so do you really want to take on that, even though you're unloading this? You know what I'm saying? Right now, they're saving money. When you really think about it, they're saving money on Ben Simmons right now. They haven't had to pay him. So it's like, I'm sure they're in a good position and they're weighing those things out. If you get a guy that's going to be a restricted free agent, you may take a chance. But if he has tremendous upside, as you say, you know what I mean, then that's something they would have to weigh if they feel they can keep him, or they feel that maybe, just maybe seeing if Ben Simmons would want to take a small buyout. Yeah. That would leave you some cap room to be able to make a move and do something, as opposed to taking on more cap and then not having the same flexibility that you would. So I'm sure they're weighing all those things out. That's kind of crazy, though, that you would think on the outside without looking into the inner workings of the deal, then, you would look like you'd want to unload that situation if you're not getting value for them.
Yeah, like you said, there are some different probably goals going on throughout that, and I'm sure they've had all types of offers, at least maybe not actual offers, but at least floated out there and discussed as they've been trying to unload Ben Simmons. But part of the idea, I think, at least from the outside, an idea that somebody has reported might be of interest to them is to, once you get rid of Ben Simmons, is to pair them with maybe a James Harden when the next free agency class kind of comes open. So maybe, like you said, maybe it's not so much just unloading Simmons and doing the best you can to put a team together for this upcoming season, but a long-term plan with Joel Embiid already in place to pair him with a superstar and be a contender down the line. Because I think that sort of trade would make this team better and maybe be able to compete a little bit in the East. It still wouldn't make them the favorite. And so maybe the idea is, kind of more long-term thinking and wanting to have something that's a little bit more unloadable, like you said. So maybe that's part of the idea there. I'm fascinated because it's about as long as I can remember anybody being on the trade block, just kind of being very, the franchise is pretty apparent about it. Ben Simmons, I mean, he tried to go back to practice. It just didn't work with his teammates. They didn't kind of like the vibe going on there. So it's just very obvious that he's on the trade block and still nothing has happened with the trade deadline approaching. We'll see if they get it done or not.
Yeah, that's going to be something to look in the upcoming. I mean, they don't have too much longer to wait. The trade deadline's coming up and fastly approaching. So shoot, it's going to be interesting to see what's out there.
And we'll get more into some NBA talk later in our Hitting the Hardwood segment to round out the next hour. But we'll jump into some more Husker hoops and kind of talk about what this team has to do to salvage hope for the future. Of course, some NFL action over the weekend, Monday Night Football last night. What matchups are we looking forward to most this weekend as well? We'll break all that down next in the next hour here on the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
Nebraska's never been really good, but they've never been this bad.
That is very telling about how bad it is right now.
Exactly. And it's not Nebraska. It's always had a little bit of an identity where it was a team that would scrap with you. Sure. This isn't really a scrappy team.
I mean, the Doc Sadler, Sadler, they were never very talented, but my gosh, they scrapped. They played defense.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
And now a limerick from the world of Yum.
There once was a man in a bind. He's got the best wife in all mankind. And with Valentine's Day not that far away, he needs the greatest gift he can find. Jewelry can be hit or miss, and that vacuum was quickly dismissed. Flowers, they die. Homemade, don't be that guy. But what about that bakery in Beatrice? Liqueur cakes, you'll eat every crumb. Fruit cakes made with brandy, bourbon, and rum. And those chocolate cake squares. Do I have to drive you there? Get yourself to the world of Yum.
Hey, Steve. Welcome to Great Clips.
Great Clips asks, what's the difference between good and great?
Come on back and have a seat.
Good asks you what haircut you'd like.
I have all your details from last time. Would you like the same haircut today?
Great already knows. With Clip Notes, we save your haircut details so you can get the same thing as last time, every time. Download our online check-in app today. Great Clips. It's gonna be great.
Herrick Services in Lincoln reminds us this winter to drive safe. Snow and black ice can pull your feet out from under you and put your car in a tailspin. In 2022, watch your speed, watch your step, and save those text messages for when it's not going to cause an accident. This safety message from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending and snow removal specialists here in Lincoln. Visit them on the web at herrickservices.net. Herrick Services, wishing all a safe and healthy winter season.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure. Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your MTV First Alert weather tonight. Cloudy skies and cold. Overnight lows 12 above with north winds gusting to 35. Gusty winds much colder again on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high of 19. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Kent Boughton for 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! And you're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Creed stan Jake Bakoven.
I love that band, Creed.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
Welcome back to On the Block with Strick and Bach. I'm E. Strick here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. You can find us here. You can text us also at the Sutter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. I'm my partner, Bach. We're on the second hour of On the Block with Strick and Bach. We're going to talk a little bit more about Husker basketball right now and kind of what are some areas and some things they need to do in order to salvage the hope for the future for the rest of this season. What things out there would you expect or what things? So text us on the Sutter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. What are some things that you think they can do to salvage hope for the future for this the rest of this year? And also, we want your thoughts on how many games did you think they would win in the Big Ten for this the rest of this season as well. Right now, they're an offer, but we're hoping that they will be able to pull some games out, and we want your thoughts on what that number could be. So, nonetheless, Bach, what are some of your thoughts on what do you think the Huskers will need to do in order to salvage this season and make the Husker fans and Husker alumni and Husker everywhere, Huskers for California, Huskers for New York, Huskers from Texas. What can we do to get them to feel good about this Husker basketball team as they finish out the Big Ten the second half?
Well, I suppose it's just kind of slow steps right now. You wanted Nebraska to take that giant step to be a team that competes for the NCAA tournament, or at least the NIT. You know, you get your first 5-star in Bryce McGowan's. You have a lot of players coming back. I mean, we all know the recipe looked pretty good, and it just hasn't equated to wins or too much success for this Nebraska basketball program. I suppose an easy answer is to say get to 4 conference wins. They had 2 the first year under Fred Hoiberg. They had 3 last year. So just some sort of improvement, even if it's baby steps, is at least something. You just and that's not enough. Obviously, 4 conference wins isn't going to get you too excited, but I guess at this point, if we're trying to be realistic about it, is that it's going to be difficult to get there. But they do have an easier schedule as opposed to the first half of the schedule as far as the Big Ten play goes. So you think they have some opportunities there. And then most of their games, they're not like Indiana last night. They're not completely overmatched. They're not giving up, on the coaching staff or anything like that. So I think that the fight will still be there. They still are, kind of improving on their shooting throughout the last several games. Rebounding still kind of needs to, we've talked all about a lot of those in-game things that they need to work on. A lot of it just comes down to just winning, though. And like I said, maybe just a small improvement on where they've been the last couple of seasons would convince you that they're moving onward and upward. But 8 losses in conference play to start the conference season is just buried the interest for Nebraska basketball, I think, to a degree. And it happens. It's happened every year. They started out with 9 conference losses last year. It's tough to get off the mat and really expect a whole lot after that sort of drubbing.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, when I look at it, and I'm reminded and remember back to the times when the interest was high, even though there may have been some skepticism about the success of the program. One of the things that I used to love when I used to come to Devaney, whether it be for shoot around or just before the game or the night before the game, is the student body. Literally, I mean, I would see tents. I would see tents out front. I would see them waiting. There still was an anticipation for, even though, you know, you may not have believed that we could be in the top tier of the Big Eight at that time. We normally did. I mean, we found ourselves, you know, in that 4 or 5 range quite often. Sometimes we may jump up into the 3 range, but still there was still some anticipation because they knew. I think what they had an idea of, they knew we had an identity, right? So there was always a factor of, you knew what you were going to get, even though it may have been a loss. You at least knew what you were going to get. There was some form of an identity. You knew the players. You knew what to expect from certain players on a given night. And although you may lose, there still was a consistency in what you saw. You know what I'm saying? So you can get behind that. I think that's where a lot of the uncertainty comes with this particular unit, because you just don't know if you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the NC State, Nebraska, or you don't know if you're going to get the Ohio State, Nebraska. You don't, or are you going to get the Auburn, Nebraska? You know, those type. So there's still some inconsistencies on that. I know there's been some injuries, you know, losing Wilhelm and then also Trey for some time, which are guys who kind of you can support and get behind because you kind of know what they're going to bring to the table. You know, Wilhelm, we're just kind of starting to get acclimated with him and what he does, but losing that type of person on the front court, it's helped Eduardo Andre, I would think, because I've seen progression in him, both in his physicality, both in the way that he's playing the game right now, the defense and the things that he's able to do. He's gotten more physical. So I think he's, you know, a guy with that type of, you know, rawness has been good for him. So when I look at that, I also look at what they, some of the things that I would like to see to round out the second half of the Big Ten, is that I would like to see those areas that we talked about for the recipe, which would be the rebounding, the consistent hustle, not just the hustle, the false hustle, the first 2, you know, the first half of the 20, the 30-second clock, the finish out, great defenses. And I think they play good defense, but then they don't finish it, right? So that's like, you know, that's like going 75 yards, getting to the 5-yard line and don't finish it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You did all of that work and you don't finish it. So doing that, and I would like to see improvement in IQ. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about things with them, knowing they're going to face a shot blocker, knowing that this shot blocker has done this to you on a regular basis. He starts out doing that to you, and you still just stay so bullheaded. You don't stop, but you've got to still understand that, you know, with IQ, that I'm doing my job. Or the second half, they're going to do something to adjust to what I've done to you in the first half. I may have went off and had 18 in the first half doing it a certain way. You've got to understand in your mind, they're not going to let you do that. They're not going to let you run that play. They're not going to let you. They're going to do and make some adjustment to that. So you have to understand how to make those adjustments as well in game. So I would like to see that. And so I talked about the forming identity. I would think they would need to pick up a few signature wins. And then if they do that, you can start to see some progression. I think they still need a few signature wins in order to get that interest back.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to measure it. And obviously it's not the way that any of us had envisioned coming into the season. You hope to take a bigger step, but you still maybe want to take those small steps within the program, at least to say you're making a few. And again, that's why I just kind of circle that 4, right? Get to 4 conference wins. I don't care, you know, who it is. Like you said, it'd be great if there's some signature wins there. Another thing is just kind of when Big Ten tournament time comes around, you know, that's the whole season. So there's no more excuse about not having played with each other or whatever. And that's what your team is. Just be a team that other teams don't want to see, even if it's you're still the 12 seed or whatever it is, and they might be the 14 seed. At least be a team that you'd say I'd rather not see them in tournament play, because we know they can push people. They give everybody fits. They might not have won a lot of these games at the end, but it's going to be a tough out. And I don't know if they can do that. Certainly within the kind of the play-in game, they can do that, and maybe that's part of it. Is just kind of get a win in the Big Ten tournament with one of those bottom 4 teams. Prove you're not the worst team in the Big Ten. That could be a step up, right? But the other thing is when you move on past that and you're playing one of the top teams in the Big Ten, you can't have it look like that Michigan game or that Auburn game where you're just so far outmatched. There's just not much of a reason even to throw you on the court. So, I mean, those are some things. And when you compare it again, it's somewhat comparing it to the last 2 years, which have been really, really difficult and bad seasons. I get that. And maybe not enough small improvements, not enough if we're talking big picture, right? There's going to be expectations on Hoiberg, I think, next year to move the bar up quite a bit. But as far as just kind of making it to that tournament fully intact, that's another thing. Year one, by the time the tournament hit, you were borrowing football players to fill out your roster and play in the tournament. You lost Cam Mack, among some other players in that tournament play. And then year two is the same thing. Teddy Allen's gone before you get to tournament play. So I'd at least, even if this team's not very good, I'd like to see him at full strength by the end of the season to give it one last go, and by then you hope they have some confidence they can get out of the cellar of the Big Ten. There's a lot of things, and we've lowered our expectations to basically just get a win is what we're hoping for at this point in time. But you have to take baby steps first to get out of this hole that they've dug themselves in, so I'm not happy that I'm here in year 3 thinking these sorts of thoughts about just not being the worst team in the Big Ten. But I think that the talent is there. The collection of talent is there that they can put it together. They just got to grind through and get some of these wins. And it's nothing against Trey McGowan's, but it's just like things just don't line up perfectly, right? Trey McGowan's played a majority of those minutes, took a lot of Casey's minutes last night, and as well he should. He played great on his return from injury, but then he gets a wide open 3 in the corner that they desperately needed. And you're just kind of sitting there thinking, I want Casey in the corner there. The ball just never bounces in Nebraska's direction, seemingly. But that you can't go back to that excuse when you've won 7 games each of the first 2 seasons, and you're not getting these wins once again in year 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's going to be something as a determining factor is still identifying roles. They still haven't figured out what roles each other plays. I think some people are kind of more alpha male-ish, so to speak. So you have that dynamic that operates, and just because you're alpha male-ish don't mean that you should play a top tier role within the structure of the team. So I think that's something to kind of weigh out and evaluate too, is I would like to see that in the progression as an establishment of what roles do you play. And of course, being a role player, I think people have a misconception of what a role player is. A role player is not necessarily somebody that's, a second tier or third tier, because people know that there are 6 men that play at the other level that end up being the go-to guy at the end of the game or something like that. So it's not necessarily, I think everybody gets, especially maybe in this younger generation, and you guys help me on the Sauter-Heyman text line at 402-464-5685 if I'm out of line or I'm speaking out of line regarding this. I think sometimes in the younger generation, there's a misconception of what being a role player is. Everybody is chasing the starting lineup, and there are times where I played maybe 30 minutes coming out as a 6-man. So you just have to understand what you do and what you bring to the table and be the best at that and what you bring. So if your role is to change the level of intensity on the defense, or you're there to change the running game, you intensify the pace of the game. Whatever that is that you bring that. You know what I mean? If it's your job to knock down open shots, be ready to do that. So if your job is to create opportunities for the next man, come in and do that well. And so that's where I think they haven't figured out yet. And that's where we get into the trouble of who's going to be taking shots when it's crunch time. We're down 3 points. It's 3 minutes left in the game. You know, who is going to make the next shot? And sometimes where they get into the problem is Verge or Bryce thinks that they have to do it, and then they try to do it against 3 people, and they end up getting it tossed, or they end up trying to float one up there, or they're driving through, you know, traffic, and the whole team is in the paint. There's somebody open. So that formulation is doing your job is what you did by bringing everybody into the paint. Now make the next play. And so that's the part that I think they have to get to, those identifying of roles. And I think it has to happen pretty soon. You know, sometimes you have those conversations at the beginning of the season, right? You sit down individually with both, with all the players. I remember they did that in Boston. They sat Paul and they sat Antoine Walker down and said, yeah, we know what you do. And we know the majority of the shots are going to be with you, but you have to make plays when the time comes and trust your teammates that they're going to be ready to make the play when you deliver it to them. You know what I mean? You can't have the hero. And that we went from where everybody thought we were going to be the worst in the league to the, you know, second best record in the East, but the third ranking, because you obviously have the East and the Eastern and the Pacific. So that's the part that I think they have to get to. And they maybe have to have those discussions in the offseason.
Well, yeah, and I think those roles are obviously can kind of be changing, right? When you have, you know, an injured star come back and Trey McGowan's, and like I should say star, but maybe starter come back and Trey McGowan's, and I think they'll probably get him back in the starting lineup. I think that will help Keisei Tominaga fit into more of his natural role. They've been asking too much out of Keisei Tominaga in my mind as far as being a wing player. If you were going to force him to be a ball handler, then I could kind of understand where they're coming from, but he's a tiny wing player. And, you know, they kind of have him helping out and doing that stuff. Like you said, instead of playing 30 minutes a game and just having to really be a starter and be, you know, everything that comes along with that. If it's, hey, you're going to have to hit shots if you want to get CJ Wilcher's minutes off the bench. We need somebody shooting. We need both of you shooting. That needs to be your mentality. And both of you, if you both of you are hitting, then both of you play. But we need somebody out there to be our designated shooter. And that doesn't mean just because you're not a starter that you won't be out there at the end as we, you know, kind of get the floor spacing out for Bryce and Verge or whatever, and have an option, a kick out option there at the end. So, you know, I think that can help Tominaga. I just think with his body size, they've been asking too much out of him as a wing player. Do you think that he has too much of a future at this level as a wing player? Do you think he's going to have to kind of jump to the backcourt there?
Well, he played point guard in junior college. So he has handle ability. I think there's just a lack of comfort right now with him. I've seen him handle, and he's got a tremendous handle. I think right now he's still unsure of himself. I think the speed of it, he's still trying to figure out, coming from international play to, you know, high speed collegiate play. Maybe his physicality, as you said, is not there yet. I think if he bulks up just a little bit, gets a little stronger, I think he'll feel more confident in his handle. I think right now he just doesn't have the confidence in it. I think he's a tremendous person who can create opportunities. I've seen him do it as I was a referee. I just think it's going to take. It may not be until next year until, you know, he figures that out. And so, you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they've got a lot of different roles to like figure out. Like you were saying, it seemed to me too that they were going to kind of force it to Bryce McGowan's when they needed a bucket, and if that didn't work within the offense, then it was get it to Verge and have him do his magic and at least get a shot up, which I think is a pretty solid attempt. And then again, you know, at times it opened it up for like Trey McGowan's there for that all important three there at the end. Did you have a problem with the lack of push from Alonzo Verge there? The very last possession, they were down like three possessions, I believe. And so he kind of strolled down the floor like the game was over and got a layup. Instead of really pushing it and trying to get a 3 and maybe extend the game. The chances were very bleak that you get the win, but at the same time, you could hear it from the commentators, and I kind of felt the same way. Like, dude, there's 12 seconds. You can't walk up the floor. You're down whatever it was, 8 points. You're probably not going to win, but at least get a shot up, get a 3. I mean, because if they did hit a 3, all of a sudden it's 2 possessions, and maybe, he's had 4 steals on the night. Maybe he can get something going. I just was a little bit disappointed by that too at the end. I don't know if that kind of came from the bench where the coach kind of called off the dogs, or if that was just Verge not knowing time and game, or if that was Verge just saying, I want 2 more points. And I think the easiest way to go about that is to get a layup and flash for a 3 and just kind of not go about it too quickly.
I mean, I can't speak to his mindset, but I will say that I've seen enough basketball to know, I've seen enough March Madness to know that the game is never over until the time runs out. I've seen Reggie Miller decimate the hearts of the New York Knicks with and being down, like what you just said, by 3 scores and literally doing it. I've seen the fans walk out of the game in Miami, and the next thing you know, I mean, it looked like every part of the game looked like it was over, and the next thing you know, Ray Allen hits a big one after they had to come back. I seen Tracy McGrady score crazy, to win the game when he was at Houston. I think it was it could have been maybe 10 or 13 points in 2 minutes or something. It was crazy. So no, I don't want to put that in the atmosphere. I don't think that should ever be in the mindset of anyone, unless you're down by 8-10 points where it's pretty much settled. Then you walk the ball up and you go on your good way. But I think if you've got at least that 12 seconds, at least that one before that, you give it a shot. Put it in their hands to walk it up and settle the game and don't foul. You know what I'm saying? But if you hit it, never know. Miss free throw here, throw one down, get one up quick. Never know.
Yeah, that's why I would just, I think they were down 9 is because the final score indicates they're down 7. So it would have been hard to come back. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things where if you call off the dogs and there's no reason to get the layup even outside of maybe your own selfish reasons to get more points. But I just feel, especially 9, especially in the 3-point age, that's 3 possessions. Yeah, it's a long shot. Yeah, they're probably going to hit a free throw and ruin your comeback or whatever. But you got to go till the end, and that was kind of disappointing to see. But again, it's on you don't. I don't know. I wasn't in his mind. I didn't hear the post game kind of what went through their minds in that area at that time of the game. So it was just. It's just a little bit disappointing to see when you see a team struggling and they give fight all night. And I thought they did against Indiana. I thought that was a good game. You can kind of feel that they're getting a little bit better here and there, on most nights, other when they get blown out. But there's always that, like we said, that's quite literally coming down to the final seconds of trying to play a 60-minute or, it's a 40-minute game in this case for college ball. And just not giving it your all toward the end, but it is what it is. He still had a pretty solid game. So I don't want to make this a whole segment about, piling on Alonzo Verge. I think he's still a key piece to them moving forward, obviously. And like I said, a guy that they go to if they can't get the bucket that they need to within the offense. He's their go-to piece down the stretch.
Absolutely. So, we'll close that segment out. We definitely beat a dead horse on that one because it was good. It was good information though. And we're going to come back after the break. We're going to talk a little bit about the Rams-Arizona game and the blowout that happened there. It just was never even close. But we'll also touch on the upcoming games for the divisional rounds when we come back right here on the Block with Strick and Bach.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from Certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your MTV First Alert weather tonight. Cloudy skies and cold. Overnight lows 12 above with north winds gusting to 35. Gusty winds much colder again on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high of 19. I'm MTV Chief Forecaster Kent Boughton for 93.7 The Ticket.
You can search online for hours to find the best electricians in Lincoln and the surrounding area, but I'll save you time. High Electric has been serving their customers for 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They're experts in everything electrical, from remodeling to new additions, hot tub installations, electric vehicle chargers or EV chargers, lighting, ceiling fans, and more. High Electric takes jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at highelectric.com.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back in the future.
Sutter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SutterHeyman.com.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Casey's General Store is giving you the chance at winning 2 free tickets to a Nebraska home basketball game this season. Stop by any Casey's location in Lincoln throughout basketball season, enter your name into the registration box, and you'll have a chance to win 2 tickets to an upcoming Nebraska basketball game. Every drawing will occur at least 24 hours before the game that has its selected winner. So make sure to get to any Casey's in Lincoln today for your chance at 2 free tickets for Nebraska men's basketball games.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back. On the Block with Strick and Bach. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm E. Strick, and that is my partner, Bach. We're here to talk about the football game that transpired on last night. One of the first playoff games that actually happened on a Monday night. But it was not the kind of Monday Night Football that we were expecting. It was a blowout by the Los Angeles Rams, 34 against the Arizona Cardinals to 11, and it was never that close. It looked like Cliff Kingsbury's team just right out the gate. They could barely get anything going. I mean, I don't think by the half they had maybe 4 yards of total offense. It was quite crazy. I was looking at that. It was punt, interception, punt. It was kind of crazy. But one of the most crazy parts of it is they found themselves on the 4-yard line, and you had Kyler Murray drop back, got instant pressure, and was about to go down for a safety, and kind of did a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hook, and the hook landed in the hands of the Los Angeles Ram cornerback, and for what they call the shortest pick six in NFL history. I thought that was pretty wild. So it was some crazy things that happened. But Matthew Stafford got his first off the snide playoff game. There was a lot of firsts for everybody there. You know, Odell Beckham, who had never got an opportunity to sniff the playoffs, found himself there. It was very exciting. Him and Cooper Kupp combined for 115 yards of receiving on 9 catches and a touchdown apiece. Matthew Stafford had a phenomenal game in that he just didn't turn the ball over. He managed the game well, connecting on 13 of 17 of his passes for 202 yards with a passer rating of 154.5. So it was a good night for the LA Rams. They made a good showing of it. It was a terrible night. The Arizona Cardinals found themselves on the back end of a snide after losing one of their top players in DeAndre Hopkins at the receiving position. So, Bach, my question to you is, do you think that this loss would have been any difference had you found a DeAndre Hopkins in the game, or would the outcome have been the same?
Well, unfortunately, I have to go with more than just this year and look at Cliff Kingsbury, because it's happened the last several years. It's happened every year since he's been at Texas Tech. I can run down their last game. I saw this. The Action Network tweeted this out. At Texas Tech in 2013, Kingsbury lost 5 of his last 6 games. In 2014, he lost 4 of his last 6. 2015, 4 of his last 6. 2016, 6 of his last 8. 2017, 6 of his last 8. 2018, all of his last 5. With the Cardinals so far, he's lost 7 of his last 9 in 2019, 5 of his last 7 in 2020, and 5 of his last 6 in 2021. So his teams, it's been this way since 2013. That's a long sample size. They've all flamed out toward the end. And, like you said, I mean, it can be injuries there. They got J.J. Watt there back there last night, but just a frustrating showing. I know the offensive line is banged up too, and that's what kind of caused all those problems. But man, that just did not look like a playoff team, much less almost an NFL team. It looked like they were playing a different game out there, especially the first half. The Rams probably let a sigh of relief and probably weren't playing their most intense ball there in the second half. But just very sad as a Cardinals fan to see that this team, it started out with so much promise. They were like 10-2. And they just deteriorated over the last several weeks, and that was just a bad showing. I thought that maybe they'd save some Kyler magic for the playoffs, but it was far from that, and just very sad. And I mentioned it earlier. The Cardinals, being a Cardinals fan is hard. They haven't won a title since 1947. That's the longest drought in professional sports. That's when they were the Chicago Cardinals, and there was no Super Bowl. It was an NFL championship. So it's just been a long time. They're very, very rarely competitive, and it's kind of a frustrating franchise to follow. And I'm more of a Celtics fan than I'm a Cardinals fan. I'm more of a Red Sox fan probably than I'm a Cardinals fan, because I picked one of the worst franchises in pro football to follow. And if you do it with your heart game in, game out, they rarely make the playoffs. And when they do, half the time it's just uglier than any other team in the playoffs. They had a playoff appearance a couple years ago. This is several staffs ago, but where they couldn't throw for 100 yards with their backup quarterback. I mean, it's just, I thought that was the worst Cardinal playoff game I'd ever seen. And then last night happened.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Simply put, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals it looked like they just failed to show up. I mean, it looked like they didn't even get off the bus. I mean, it looked like all of their college buddies just imitated who they were. And, they were all doppelgangers and they looked just like the players out there, and they got out there, but they was really the scrubs. You remember when they used to have the kind of scrub players, they called them, or whatever, that kind of jumped into the league and they were playing games during a lockout season or something like that.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, a couple years ago too. That's kind of fun.
Bro. It was crazy.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, I mean,
and a great weekend of Wild Card Weekend. I mean, it was first Monday Night Football in the playoffs. I mean, everything was built there for a lot of fun. They split the regular season series and. Yeah, just a complete dud, which is sad. But overall, Wild Card Weekend, I know they're going with this kind of newer playoff format. I love it. I mean, that was a lot of fun.
I think it's sweet. I really have enjoyed it so far also. But now we find ourselves, pressing on the upcoming week. We got the divisional round that's coming up Saturday on January 22nd. We find that the Bengals, the number 4 seed, at the number 1 seed Titans at 4:30 Eastern time on CBS. The Bengals are approaching the divisional round for their first time in 31 years. And so they'll face a Titans team that'll be getting Derrick Henry back on the field. That'll be the first time since he's touched the field since October. I mean, he looks fresh. He looks like he's in good shape. He looks strong. He's going to have a lot of energy, and I'm sure he's going to get some touches. So what's your perspective on that particular game? And do you think the Bengals have enough? I mean, I love what Joe Burrow and the crew did in their first game, but do you think it's a little too much to see that they're overwhelming the Titans, who are quite phenomenal?
Yeah, they are really good. 6-3 this year without Henry. So there's just kind of idea that they're just, once they lost Derrick Henry, it might all fall loose, but they ended up being the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. So you got to give them a lot of credit. These teams did not meet in the regular season. But in any case, with Derrick Henry returning, it's just part of it is how healthy is he going to be? Cincinnati's kind of riding off a high, but at the same point, kind of feel like they're right. Maybe it opens it up for them. Maybe it makes them feel better, like they're playing with house money, that they've already had the best Bengals team, in the last 30 years or whatever it is. That might open it up for them. I'll certainly be cheering for Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow to get it done. And I think, the Titans are really solid, but they don't flash too much as far as a scare factor for you with some of these other matchups that you see. So I certainly think the Bengals have the chance to keep this one close. I know you've been picking all the games perfectly so far, so it doesn't matter much what I say in my prediction, but I am excited, and maybe we'll do it later in the week to kind of give our official predictions. But I'm leaning toward giving the Bengals an opportunity in this one.
Very nice. Very nice. So in the nightcap at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, we have on Fox, the rivalry, the 49ers, the 6th seed against the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, he gets a chance to beat the nemesis, the one team that he hasn't been able to knock off in the playoffs. The Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers is actually 0-3 all time in the postseason against the 49ers. He is their kryptonite. The 49ers is his kryptonite. So we have to see that we see that their head-to-head matchups, Green Bay actually got a 30-28 win over San Francisco back in week 3. So do you think that can be duplicated, and you think Aaron Rodgers will get off the snide in this game?
I think that they will. The Rams obviously didn't make it easy on themselves against the Cowboys, and the Packers, a lot of people's favorites to make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they've obviously earned that number 1 seed. Aaron Rodgers playing another MVP type of year, and so naturally, when you have that big of a mismatch at the quarterback position, I go back to it, and I'll favor Green Bay in that game. But Deebo Samuel, some of those weapons that the 49ers have will certainly give them a shot. It's a solid team. I've said all along it's a great organization since John Lynch has taken over there, and I still kind of think, man, Tom Brady from that area, I always thought he was going to head to the 49ers. He ended up going to the Bucs. Obviously, they won a Super Bowl, so you can't say it's a mistake there for Brady, and they're still in the playoffs. But I always thought that would have been a great destination for Tom Brady moving forward because of how basically without a franchise quarterback, they got 2 maybes there. And I just wonder, Jimmy G, you just kind of continue with that is, if you do beat Rodgers again, if you get past the Packers, can you really give up on Jimmy G at that point? Or,
Right.
Will it matter again? I mean, he had kind of an errant throw in the Super Bowl that people will hold against him for the rest of his career. So that could still come down the pipe. But I think this is going to be a good game. Good game on paper, and I think that it'll be close. But I do like the Packers at this point in the week.
Well, it's just a quick little story. I mean, we mentioned John Lynch out there as their GM. The crazy thing about John Lynch is that me and him came into the Florida organization together when he was playing baseball back in the day before he decided to make football, just like I did. We both were Marlins to start off. So I thought that was pretty funny. Sunday, on the Sunday games starting on January 23rd, we have a great matchup right here. I think I don't think this is the top matchup that I'm looking at right now, but I think it's probably the second one I'm looking at, which is the Rams against the Buccaneers. The 4-seeded Rams will face the 2nd-seed Buccaneers at 3:05 Eastern time on NBC. We have Tom Brady, who will look to avenge one of his losses this year in the regular season. Back in week 3, the Rams beat the Buccaneers 34-24. And the big difference in that game is that it was played in LA, but now this game is played in Tampa, where the Bucs are 8-1. So what do you expect to see in this game? And do you think the Bucs will be able to get revenge?
And boy, I do like that LA stadium, SoFi Stadium. That is beautiful to watch again last Monday. And I got to make it to that stadium, brand new. But like you said, this one is down where the pirate ships are. So with the Bucs, I like the Rams. I've liked them all year. They're kind of their second season, or I should say the second half of the season, where they've really started to make a push. I thought, man, that's a team that I could see making a run in the playoffs. And Odell Beckham Jr. has kind of revived his season, maybe his career there. I don't think he had any touchdowns with Cleveland this year. He's got 6, I think, total now with the Rams. So he's a weapon there. Again,
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And for our own Ndamukong Suh, it's kind of a cool matchup because, of course, he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams, and then the next year went to Tampa Bay and won the Super Bowl with the Bucs. So he's kind of probably liked among both those fan bases, but he'll be in the Bucs red this weekend. I just love that game. The Bucs, obviously, very, very talented, but not healthy. I mean, I don't know if Ronald Jones is going to be back. Leonard Fournette's out for the season. We all know about Antonio Brown. So I definitely think that if there's an upset this week to happen, I like the Rams.
This is the one. I could go in depth, but we don't have enough time this time. We'll get back into it as we get closer to the weekend. We'll talk more about those matchups and what we expect there. But to round out the weekend is at 6:30 Eastern on CBS. We have the Bills. This is the game I'm watching. Looking out as probably the top game I'm interested in was the Bills and the Chiefs. This is one of the probably most anticipated divisional round games, and that it is a rematch from last season AFC title game. So obviously we know the Chiefs won that one, but I think the Bills are going to be looking for a little retribution in this particular game. And so I'm excited to see it, and I actually think the Bills have an opportunity to pull it out. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely see that as a possibility too. I mean, this is the matchup we wanted to see in the playoffs, right? And it comes to fruition here. Very, very much a kind of a maybe separated for Josh Allen. If he wins this game, if you beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoff, he's already highly regarded as one of the best, top 10 quarterbacks certainly in the league. If you beat Patrick Mahomes and makes the throws that he's been making this season over the last couple of years, you might elevate him into like a top 5 quarterback in the league if he's not already there. I think either way it elevates him if he gets the win. And both these teams obviously coming off just curb stompings in the first round. These teams are hot. Their offenses did very well. They're confident, and I can't wait to see that matchup. Like you said, probably the most anticipated one of this upcoming weekend in the NFL.
Great thoughts. And then we'll round out the show. We'll come back after this message right here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com with Hitting the Hardwood with me, E. Strick, right after this.
$93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your MTV First Alert weather tonight. Cloudy skies and cold. Overnight lows 12 above with north winds gusting to 35. Gusty winds much colder again on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high of 19. I'm NTV Chief Forecaster Kent Boughton for 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey, sports fans. Rico here with HIS Auto Care 70th and Van Dorn. Carfax recently awarded us as a top-rated auto service center for 2020, and Lincoln Choice Awards voted us as the 2021 top independent auto repair center. Call us at 402-488-8934 for superior service bumper to bumper. Mention this ad and get 7% off. Doesn't get any better than that. Rico for his Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great.
We're definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of extremely tender and delicious beef from certified Piedmontese. Prime grade tenderness with a fraction of the fat and calories of normal beef. It's Nebraska-raised product and the official beef of Nebraska Athletics. Change the way you buy beef today at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese, just north of 84th and Havelock, or at cpmercado.com.
This is Dan Friedman. In recent years, over 1/3 of all Nebraska traffic crashes have been caused by drivers aged 15 to 19. If you're a teen driver, don't become another statistic. Keep your eyes on the road. And if you're a parent, please remember that safe driving habits start with you. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices. For almost 60 years, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they're hiring for production operators at $21.72 an hour and other select jobs starting at $23.42 an hour, with wages growing up to $27.55 an hour. Continental also has salary jobs available with great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Do you know the signs of an opioid overdose? Talk to your physician and pharmacist about naloxone, a drug used to safely reverse an opioid overdose. I'm Dr. Rob Rhodes, a Nebraska family practice physician. Be Opie ready and download a free overdose support tool, the Opie Rescue app. Search Opie Ready for more information.
Paid for by the CDC, sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, and aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop, but you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at koppelcars.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rounding out things here on the block with Strick and Buck on 93.7 The Ticket. Our last segment is Hitting the Hardwood with Strick. We talk some NBA action, and we will talk about the Lakers, so that will be exciting. I just want to also tease to you a little bit about what's going on Ticket weeknights tonight. Up the middle, coming up next with Cam Chick and Bryce Matthews, members of the Husker baseball team. Splashly for 3, we'll follow them with Ashley Scogan of the women's basketball team, and then Outside the Box with the Stars tonight. So Ticket weeknights in fuego, on fire tonight. So you're going to want to stick around for that. But first, let's get to Hitting the Hardwood before we round things out. And it's just it's a weird time to be a Lakers fan, I think, right now. kind of struggling about what to do. The trade deadline's approaching, or do they have to make some moves there? Because their team is obviously one of the oldest teams of all time, and there's different ways to kind of look at it. LeBron James is having another great year, averaging almost 29. He started some games at center, but for me, it ultimately comes down to the health of Anthony Davis, about how much of a factor they're going to be in the playoffs. But right now at 500, there's no guarantee to make it. Do you think the Lakers have to do something drastic before the trade deadline to try to make this thing work? Or do you think continuing to believe in Russell Westbrook and the pairing with LeBron James, and maybe by the time you get AD back, who's been out a month, that eventually this thing can flow?
I mean, the thing you got to look at, are they the Lakers or are they the Fakers? That's going to be the determining factor for you in your mind. If you're a huge Laker fan, you're hoping to see some turning of the curve at some point, coming around the bend. What was the song? She'll be coming around the mountain. She come, hopefully that's what they're waiting on. They're waiting for her to come around the mountain. But I think when you look at it, I don't know if they can really make any moves on anything in particular. They are heavily over the salary cap with what they have. I know they're probably trying to move Russell Westbrook. I just don't know what they could get back for him at this point. I think his contract won't be even touchable until next year because of the fact that he has those few years left. So I think it's either gonna be patchwork or a hodgepodge of trying to just see what guys in the G League or what guys out there that are elderly, and they're already an elderly team. They're not getting any younger. You know what I mean? So we talked about what LeBron is doing. We see that he's having a phenomenal season, but is it sustainable? Because he too is injury prone as well for the physical and the style of play that he plays in the game. Is it sustainable to make those, play those and log those types of minutes at his age? And will that wear him out? I don't think he has the ability to do as he did when he was with those Cleveland teams, to be able to lead the team the way that he did. And they were looking for Westbrook to be able to take some of that pressure off of him so that he didn't have to do it that way. Missing Anthony Davis, what type of Anthony Davis are you going to get back? When are you going to get him back? There's so many uncertainties there, and they're not getting any younger. Every game they age, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like this isn't a Benjamin Button situation where they're going backwards, they're going forward. So it's going to be interesting to see how they finish out. There's still too much inconsistency for me to make it. They're going to get in. They're going to get into that playing game, but then that's another game, another series of getting banged up at an elderly team. And, so that's how I feel about it.
Oh, and it's just the West. I mean, it's hard to imagine because if you're a Lakers fan, obviously you want to position yourself well above 500, so that you're not fighting upward. But I mean, right now, the Suns, obviously, we know about them winning the West last year. The Warriors are back at full strength. The Grizzlies have kind of shot themselves up to the number 3 spot. But from there, it's the Jazz, the Mavericks, the Nuggets, the Clippers. It's all those same teams that are so difficult. And the Western Conference playoffs are so fun to watch because of the competition that's there. But it's hard to imagine an aging Lakers team without too much shooting being able to do that. Like you said, the whole idea was to have Russell Westbrook log a lot of those minutes in the regular season and maybe save LeBron for the playoffs. But with the AD injury, I mean, they're grinding LeBron out quite a bit. And I don't know if that's going to be well. And then like you said, the long-term thing with the Lakers is always the health of Anthony Davis. If you can catch, lightning in a bucket or whatever, and you get him healthy, then you can win the championship. We saw that in the bubble. But that's hard to ask. And of course, that's not necessarily the case moving on with this year's team. I think Malik Monk has found a nice role there after some experimentation with Kent Bazemore in the starting lineup. I think they've found at least a role there to move forward with Monk. But, obviously he's not going to make the difference in a championship or not. They need more help, and they need to stay healthy, and they've always needed more shooting. It's kind of weird because LeBron's been there a few years now, and I just never felt like, even when they won the title, grabbing Rondo and Dwight Howard and guys I just never felt the front office did the best job of setting them up with the players around them. Because I mean, that was legitimate. I mean, Kuzma or Rondo were like the 3rd or 4th best players on that playoff run. And they were wildly inconsistent, whether they were going to show up and be, playoff Rondo or Kuzma was going to have one of his better games. It was all on Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And that was in the bubble. Who knows if they could replicate that outside of it?
It's totally different for an elderly man to play at home and you ain't got to go nowhere than to be able to get on that plane, deal with the aches and the breaks of that travel, getting in at 2, 3 in the morning, having to get to bed. You need to be iced up, wake up the next morning, go to shoot. It's a lot different than sleeping in a nice comfy bed. You ain't got to go nowhere but walk right down the hall to the next arena, to the practice facility in the exhibition rooms of the building. So that's the way I feel about that. It's a lot different.
Yeah, and it's a too bad. Did you ever watch The Bubble and kind of think, man, I would have liked that experience? That would have been interesting at least. I don't know if everybody liked it. You had to stay there and not see your family for months.
That part I think was hard, but I think it felt like practice. I mean, Rondo was a freaking maniac shooting the ball in the bubble. It's like practice.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have liked it either, but at least it was entertaining for the time when there wasn't a whole lot else entertaining going on. We'll continue our Hitting the Hardwood segment every day to catch up on some NBA action with our former NBA player, Eric Strickland. But that'll just about wrap it up for our time tonight. Like I said, Ticket Weeknights on fire. Coming up next is Up the Middle with Cam Chick and Bryce Matthews of the Husker baseball team. We'll have plenty on throughout the rest of the week. Bruce Chubbuck, I believe, set to join us tomorrow. So we're going to have a wonderful show tomorrow.
Chub Rock.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening today, Strick. We'll see you. Everybody else, have a nice weekend. Stay tuned. Ticket Weeknights coming up next.